just a step beyond Duke Nukem. You know, we're still talking about that kind of era of games, and it's only been in the past 10, 15 years that games have gotten super serial, and like we're art now.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman known in certain circles as El Huevos Rancheros, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well. That is a that is a that's an old nickname that was attributed to uh, somebody that was not me, but looked a lot like me, that shared a cell with me in the big house many years ago. And I really don't appreciate people bringing that up because I have nothing to do with uh, Huevos Rancheros. He was a fiend and a brigand, and yeah, I don't appreciate that at all, Joe. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I clearly remember it being what you made the other kids that you taught in Japan as you were the Puzzle and Dragons, whale champion there. And you're like, yes, just give me all the huevos. And they're like, they really didn't understand it because you're teaching them English. And then here you are throwing Spanish at them. But, you know,
Oh,
I guess that helps you, keep your palate clean.
yeah. I think I played Puzzles and Dragons like, I think maybe twice for a total of 5 minutes, maybe. I remember loading it up one time and being like, this is not something that I want to try to have fun with. Um, yeah, yeah, those kids, I don't know. I don't know what that they. I can't remember if they were really into that. I remember playing. I can't remember what games they were actually into back then, but this was a long time ago. Um, yeah, those poor kids. Anyway,
I distinctly remember having a discussion with the kids I was teaching, and one of them used the phrase, "I'll be back." And I paused for a second, and I'm like, "Where did you learn that?" Because I knew that movie was just too old for them, and apparently, I think it was a, Yokai Watch reference or something like that because they quoted it,
oh
and so they're quoting something that's, making a reference to something that no kid there ever would remember, and so I just thought it was hilarious because it was in their zeitgeist because of it's like a meme of a meme at this point or something like
yeah,
that.
that is a meme of a meme. Wow, that's pretty wild. Huevos Rancheros, though, I could really go for some Huevos Rancheros right now because those are actually pretty good eggs. I'm gonna have to go out in the morning and get something for breakfast like that. We actually have some pretty good versions of that down here. Dang it, making me hungry, Joe. Um,
Alright. Well, I mean, you better, go out and grab what you need before the storm hits you, at your
yeah,
holes.
yeah. So we are. I don't know if I'm actually gonna get this put out early, but we are recording a little bit early because as about a quarter of the nation is about to experience, or is experiencing maybe right now a little bit. There's a gigantic ice storm coming in from the Atlantic Ocean, I think, basically straight across through, basically like the reverse of Sherman's march to the sea. It's this it's from the sea going from like Atlanta straight west all the way to Texas, and it's supposed to get kind of bad here. And the grid always goes down whenever one or two flakes of snow fall. So, yeah, like I was telling you, Joe, like I don't know if like we could record like a little bit later than normal, but if there's anything else that pushed it back, it was like I don't think I can record on Saturday in case we needed to because the power might literally be out. So yeah.
Yeah, they're actually shutting down schools, Friday for, our district and stuff like that because it's just too darn cold. It's supposed to be alleged -40 wind chills. Um
Jeez.
Yeah, it's only gonna be like sub-zero Fahrenheit. So, but like -40, the wind chills, and so kids with buses. That's the thing is, it's you can't have the kids wait outside for a bus or
Uh,
walk to a bus stop. So, and that's why they cancel. I'm like, that fair enough. Frostbite is a thing that lasts for forever sometimes. So,
it's only
yeah,
going to get down to like 20 or like 18 maybe around here, which is really cold. I mean, that's super cold for this far
that's like
south.
short weather, mother.
I know that's short weather for you, but like for this far south, that's like extremely, extremely cold. Um, and so the grid is gonna have a good time with it. They're talking about like there's a little bit of talk about canceling like work on Monday, but I think it's just gonna be work from home or whatever. Anyway, so
If you want to see something cool, look up the Chicago trains and see how they keep the tracks from freezing. They literally just have like lighters, flamethrowers attached to the side of the tracks, open flame to heat the tracks up so they don't freeze. It's
well,
pretty neat. Like when you see it, you're like, that's not real. That's totally not real, right? And then you're like, oh wow, that's actually legit.
that's how it works, man. That's sometimes that's just how it's got to work.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll hear from you next week, and you're not frozen in your room all by yourself, like
Yeah,
uh, like the ending of the old TV show Dinosaurs.
yeah. I forgot about that. That was like a sitcom, right?
Yeah, it was essentially a sitcom, like Jim Henson, I believe, or something, but animatronic, or like dinosaurs in suits has a little baby. That catchphrase was "not the mama," smashing the dad in the head with a frying pan. Um,
Yeah, yeah. That show
the
was
spoiler, the end of the series, they make a giant air conditioner to help cool off the area. Goes out of control and causes their winter,
their Ice
and
Age.
they literally pull out like being like, yeah, I hope it warms up. Yeah, it'll be fine. And there's all shivering in their like houses, and then it zooms in later on, like post credits or whatever, on the baby frozen in ice. Like,
How many
yeah,
seasons did that show last?
I don't know. My guess is probably two, maybe three. But yeah,
Man, that was wild, man. Like I don't know what like I guess the crack epidemic had finally spread to like um the writers at NBC or something because I don't know how that really got got through and got made. I feel like that there's no way that would get made on the main networks now. It'd
four
be
seasons, 65 episodes. Uh,
65 episodes. There's like not even that many episodes of Stranger Things. Like there's not even that many episodes of like a mega huge shows now. 65
yeah,
episodes of like a forgettable sitcom about dinosaur puppets. Like got 65 episodes. Crazy.
well, you're also looking at a syndicated show, and the networks were limited back then. But you're talking about America, or TV series where, uh, like, was it the old honeymooners or whatever? Like
Yeah.
catchphrase being like, one of these days, pow zoom to the moon, talking about hitting your wife, and like that was acceptable. It's just like, wow, the
Well, it's
stuff that
funny.
went down. Well, yeah, it's funny now, but it's like, geez, okay, I guess that is the real state of affairs. I'm like, that's pretty messed up.
See, Joe, we need a catchphrase. You know, I've been thinking about this for a couple of years and haven't been able to come up with a good one yet. But we need a catchphrase. So maybe once we get the Patreon going, we can maybe get
We'll
our
outsource it, let them pick.
yeah. We got to be careful, but as long as it's not, we'll probably have to remove all the slurs and all the other slurs and all the slurs that we weren't really sure were slurs, but we had looked them up and we found that they were slurs. So get all the Gen Z stuff out. It's gonna be hard, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, but I mean, dinosaurs, ABC network. You're talking,
Oh,
and then
ABC, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have known. We're talking 91 to 94, so uh, some good old fashioned Americana. Yeah, it's a weird one. But anyways, let's get to what we've actually been playing. We played a few things this week. Why don't you start us off, because you have something that you wanted to get off your chest. You had, at least that's what you told me.
Yeah, so I have been wanting to play this game for about a year. So last year, I feel like it was kind of around this time, but it was actually probably in 24. I played Little Nightmares 1, um, and enjoyed that a lot. I played that, I really liked that a lot. And I've played Little Nightmares 2. Um, I guess I really wanted to let it cool off quite a bit. I'm kind of glad I did, but I finally got around to playing Little, Little Nightmares 2, and it's about the same sort of game. I think Little Nightmares 1 was like right at 5 hours. I think Little Nightmares 2 maybe took me like a few minutes longer than that to beat. They're short games. Um, and Little Nightmares 2 is a reasonable upgrade from the first one. The the graphics are better. It's just kind of a bit like a better fidelity and stuff like that. But they retain a lot of the same aesthetic, and the art direction is really amazing and stuff like that. Kind of the way the first game was. Um, and in yeah, so overall, I think it's probably not pound for pound, era to era as good as Little Nightmares 1. I think Little Nightmares 1's probably like an 8 out of 10, and I think Little Nightmares 2 might be really close to that, but probably like a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe just a hair under. And I think that's a lot to do with that it's not really new, it wasn't really new to me anymore, and it was doing a lot of this some of the same things. Um, uh, but where it kind of lost me a little bit was there were some odd difficulty spikes, and about that third quarter of the game and final quarter of the game. Uh, and then there were two puzzles that I had to look up. Um, and when I did look them up, I was like, it was just forehead slapping, just like, dang it. If I had just like thought about this for like a little bit longer, I probably would have gotten it. And one of them, I was like, okay, I think I know what this is, but I'm really looking forward to just kind of like being through with this game. And so I didn't really follow my intuition long enough. So I was like, let me just make sure that this is what I'm thinking. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's it. But yeah, so the there, and then there's a couple other places where it's like I just had to do the same run like over and over and over again, and I still don't really know what I did particularly right on this one part in order to get past it. I just had to kind of do it over and over and over again until I sort of thought I found the right path and then was able to get through. And I still think it was like kind of luck that I was able to actually get through it. Um, but yeah, I mean, besides that, the art direction and the kind of simplicity of the gameplay is pretty fantastic. It felt a little bit, it felt a little bit more like Inside, I think, than the first one did for some reason, but I don't know why that would be. But very much Inside, vibes. At least I think that's the name of that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but art direction fantastic. Story is pretty fantastic, and sort of the way that it ends up is also very good. There, I am gonna have to talk about spoilers though, so I think that now is probably a a good time for that. I think I've said everything else that I need to say about it. So rip the headphones out at this time if you don't want to hear spoilers for Little Nightmares 2. So I beat the game, and in this game, you pretty early on, get a companion. And the companion looks very much like the main character from Little Nightmares 1. And I think you get you're kind of like, they look sort of similar. And then I think you end up finding their raincoat, their yellow raincoat from Little Nightmares 1. It's like, okay, it looks like the same character, but they don't really ever tell you exactly that's like, that for sure is the same character. So you go through the game and then you lose them to the bad guy. And then you have to rescue them, and then you have to like do some other stuff. And so basically, you rescue them, and then you're running and you're about to complete the game, and they're ahead of you, and you have to do like the bridge of Khazad-dûm, like Gandalf, sort of like jump, and they catch you, but you're hanging on the side of a cliff, and then you're about to be pulled up, but then they just like let you go, and then you fall into a pit, and then it kind of does some post game sort of stuff where it shows that you are like stuck in this little nightmare type world, and you become one of the bad guys. And that character that lets you go, his name is Six, and he goes off. So I did some googling after the game because I didn't want to, because I didn't really know really what I was. I was looking around. I wanted to find out if there was a good ending that I just missed, that I just like hadn't earned yet or whatever. And the internet told me that no, there's not like a good ending, but the but if you but if you 100% complete the game, then you get enough lore to understand that Little Nightmares 2 is actually not a sequel, but a prequel. And that kind of makes the first game, some of the things at the end of the first game make a little bit more sense in some ways, but it also makes the first game like a lot darker in nature, um, than like it kind of was. It's sort of retcons it and makes it like even more darker. Um, so yeah, so I didn't really know what to think about the game after that. I was like, I think that's probably doing a little bit too much. I think I could have just done with this being just a sequel and then maybe not have quite that same sort of ending, but they wanted to sort of pull a fast one on me. So I don't know. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was sort of like just maybe a little bit too trying to do too much, I think. But overall, still a really good game. Just like the puzzles and stuff and everything was pretty much, like on point. But um, after having played this game, uh, like I kind of wish I had played this game a little bit earlier because it would have probably removed any hope of Little Nightmares 3 being anything that I wanted to play. Because ultimately, I didn't end up playing that game, but I did have it on my wish list for a while. I did seriously consider buying it for like the what $40 that it cost, but after having played this game, I'm like, okay, yeah, this story was like not going to be completed by whatever we saw with with 3. Like whatever they showed up for 3 on the previews and stuff like that. After having played 2, I'm like, yeah, that was have had nothing to do with what was going on here. Um, but it does make me more excited for Reanimal, which is sort of why I decided to go ahead and play this now because Reanimal is coming out on February 13th, I think. So um, I'm pretty excited for that. I think that this team or these guys that made this are making Reanimal, and you can tell that the vibe is very similar. And I'm excited that they're going to get a new sort of story. I hope that they don't try to connect it to these old games, but from what I can tell, it looks like it's same but different. Maybe spiritual successor, all that, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Six was the girl main character in the first game.
Girl, okay.
I, and I wasn't sure. I never played the second, so I wasn't 100% sure, like if it was just an homage or what the connection was. But knowing that it's a prequel makes a little more sense. Um, I mean, the studio, was it um Tarser or something like that? They did like Little Big Planet stuff, I believe, like
Uh,
DLC or something like that.
it feels
So
like that. Interesting.
so I don't think they're because it was Sumo Studios or Sumo Digital that was the main head, but I believe they helped with other things, and so it kind of makes sense that that kind of going from there. And I think they did um, Tearaway for I'm not sure if it was for the Vita or if it was the PlayStation 4 version, but I know they're credited with some tearaway stuff as well, if not the main.
It was at
And
least the Tearaway was at least first for the Vita, and then it might have come to the PS4.
yeah, so I'm not sure if they're assigned necessarily as like the porting studio
Mm.
or if or what have you, but I do know that this studio is attached to Tearaway. So I'm like, okay, Sony strong, as far as Little Big Planet stuff, Tearaway, the cutesy diorama-esque kind of concept. So they kind of always stuck with that, but then just slowly as time gone on, went darker, and darker, and like Reanimal looks like a great um rendition of like Inside, which was,
Yeah,
um, it seems like because the guys it was Playdead who did Limbo and Inside.
right. Play Dead.
So while was it Supermassive is the one whose games did the third installment of Little Nightmares. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So
and I remember you showing like we both showed interest in Little Nightmares 3 when it was first announced like 2 years ago, back in 2023.
mhm.
And I mean, but the idea of it being multiplayer instantly kills any horror element, I guess, a lot more because when you're playing it with somebody, it's like it becomes more of a stress test on friendship than it does on actual like um
Yeah,
game.
you're just not really paying attention to the horror stuff whenever you're trying to play with another person. It just doesn't really work in that way anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, Supermassive being the Dark Pictures, crew.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and it's it, yeah, like so, like that is like the horror in these games. It's not really gonna freak you out or anything like that, obviously, but it has a really great creepy vibe, which I think is hard to pull off. It's a very quiet game, um, and it like both of these first two little, of the Little Nightmares games are very quiet games, but they're like the aesthetic of the horror is unsettling, and there's a couple maybe kind of jump scares and stuff like that, but that stuff doesn't really I don't really like that very much. It's just not really fun or something to really write home about. But sort of the like realizations that you make on some of these, some of the environments and stuff like that is just really cool. And it takes a lot of good art direction in order to be able to pull that off.
yeah. I think with your problem with the second game, just the difficulty spikes, I find that a lot of these types of games will have one or two areas where if you don't know how to do the thing, it becomes just really difficult. But then once you realize, or once like you have to do it a specific way and like spot on, then you're like, okay, it's not a problem. But it takes you a few tries to learn the mechanic or learn the whatever the MacGuffin they want you to do. But when it does that, like I remember Inside having something similar where like it was a quick sequence or a certain sequence where I died a handful of times. And it was just a real quick like, oh, this is but then when I realized, oh, like the moment it starts, smash the right thumbstick instantly, like and then you have to do one or two other things. And I'm like, okay, but because I had died a couple times, it took away that tension,
And
and
you're
it
just
became more it went from, like, anxiety and fear to just frustration and annoyance, and I'm like, "Okay, it killed that momentum you had me built that you were building up, and now I'm restarting from scratch." And now, like, once you realize you can die, I guess, because once like, that's if you go into a video game being like, "I don't care if my character dies, and it's quite alright," then you kinda lose some of that, motivation, as it were.
yeah.
So yeah, but overall, I know a lot of people seem to like two better than one. Just overall, like um, higher production, higher like
It is that, yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
but
I think it could have I don't know, there's a couple places where it's like I think they could have taught me just like a little bit more, and the budget is what it is, but just like a little bit more of a teaching, like, hey, you're going to do this next, uh or you're going to have to do this at some point, and then that would have been able I would have been able to call on it a little bit easier, or known what they were trying to get me to do, and maybe had a few less runs. Nothing terrible, it was just enough to kind of just kind of taken me out of it and to kind of nudge this one, in my opinion, under the first one. But that's kind of a time and place thing as well. But yeah, overall, I really like these games, and for the time commitment and the amount how much they cost these days, I think these have probably been on um, some kind of giveaways and stuff because they're that old now. But they're definitely worth going back and playing just because of how good and how kind of cheap in money and time that they are.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. Let's get to what else we've been playing. You introduced me to this game out of nowhere for me, at least, and it was Liminal Tower. So why don't you let everyone know what this game is?
Yeah, so the story for this game is that I was looking around. I just finished Little Nightmares 2, and I was like, I wonder if there's like I've just been really jonesing for something like new that's like new out this year to play. And I played a couple of other games that are older, and I was like, let me just check and see if there's anything new on the PlayStation Store. So I start looking through the new games, and I see this game, and I click on it, and it's got like 4 or 5 reviews, and they're all really high. I mean, it's just like the star reviews, so it's like got 4.5 stars or something, and just only like maybe 5 or 8 reviews, something like that. And I'm like, dang, people like small sample size, but people are really liking this game. And I click on it, look at it, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of at least interesting and maybe at least a little bit of a low investment. So it's a $2.99 game. So I was like, it just came out. I'm gonna give it a try. And so I buy it, download it, play it, and it's so this game is basically like a black and white pixel game. So you are a character that's like, I don't know, 16-bit, maybe 8-bit kind of style, and you're white pixels on a black background, and there's like you're in a big area that's pinned off, and there's some like flower, like every once in a while there's like flowers or like a little thing or whatever that you can kind of tell it's what it's being made to look like. And you can shoot with your character, you can shoot left or right, but not up or down, and you can move your character around. And then there are enemies that come and try to attack you, and it at first it's like one, and then one and one more, and then like one and one more and one more. And so after you kill a few of them, you get money, some kind of resource. And once you have, I think it's 5 of the first resource, you can build a tower, which is the tower part of Liminal Tower. And so the cheap towers are $5, if you will, and they shoot at a certain cadence. So you build one of those, and then right by the time you're trying to build that, more enemies come. And then so you build another tower, and then the towers, you get to a certain point where the towers are upgraded, and then you get to a certain point where you have like the max power tower, and and then like you're just trying to survive, and that's the whole game. And this game gives a lot of uh, gold trophies and a platinum trophy, if you'll believe it or not. And it takes less than half an hour, probably about 15 minutes, literally from starting the game up from the beginning, dying the first time, and then getting it. It takes like 15 minutes to actually get this platinum trophy. So if you're looking for a free plat, then this is your game to go play.
This is going to be like your one platinum trophy for the year.
It is
You know,
my only platinum trophy I've ever gotten on PlayStation, and I got it by accident. Anyway, so I actually found this game. So I told you about it because I actually found this game to be. I have some more opinions about it, but for the for that first 15-20 minutes, I actually found this game to be quite a bit of fun. What did you think of this game?
All right. So yeah, the description has it put down as a 1-bit tower defense game,
Okay.
and it is very much an Atari looking game. Uh, so yeah, I went into this completely blind, not knowing anything about it. And I was like, all right, you just recommended. You said it's a short. All you did is text me the name of the game, short time sync. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Um,
I didn't want to tell you anything about it because I
oh
didn't
no,
want to
I'm
color your
glad you
opinion.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, I was completely fine with it. It was fun because the first thing is I loaded in and it has a pretty good beat to it. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
only one song that plays through. I'm like, yeah, but like this is pretty solid. I'm enjoying this. Um, and then as I'm trying to get currency, I'm running around and I was like, okay, I drop a tower. You know, like the game pauses for a moment when you're selecting which tower you want to throw down. So you got your standard tower, which just shoots like a standard bullet, and that fires in a 360 range, so it doesn't matter. It just fires at the nearest enemy. Uh, then there's a second tower, which is I think it's costs 50,
Yeah, 50
and
lightning, right?
that's a lightning tower, so like a Tesla coil essentially. Then the last one is a like a flamethrower tower. Um, and yeah, I think the first run I made it to like I made it to like stage like 6 or 7,
Mhm.
but I just couldn't get enough currency to start throwing down lightning towers. And it's like, all right, I kind of ran all over just dropping towers as I was trying to escape. Certain items or certain flowers or landmarks can actually stop you. Like there's things that's supposed to look like grass, you can walk right over it. But then other things will stop you. So when you're thinking you're running free, all of a sudden I'm being chased, and I'm like, oh, all right, that kind of sucked. So the second time around, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to shoot, or I'm not going to build a single tower. I'm going to see how far I can go. Let's see if I can just throw down one medium tower straight out the gate. Uh, I couldn't really do that. Turns out by the time you make it to stage 4, you have your standard like slime monsters, and then the second one is like a winged according to the trophy, it's like a demon. So uh, by the time those chase you, uh, I could not build a thunder tower in time for that. And at that time, a buddy happened to go ahead and jump online, and they wanted to chat with me. So I threw them in my party, or at least like my share play, so they could watch. Uh, I accidentally selected them as because they were the same people that I was playing with when it came to uh, playing dispatch, and I had let them take control of my screen for dispatch. So my muscle memory went to, all right, share play. Here you go, the top setting, and then then all of a sudden my character just went beeline straight to the top because they just happened to have their controller like lying down, and my character died. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
my bad. Okay, disconnect, resend in the share invite. Click the bottom one where they're the observer, and then they just watch me play. But at this point, I'm like, okay, this is my third run, and knowing how slow some of the towers are, I'm like, instead of building them all over the place trying to be strategic, I'm like, no, no, no. I just, you know, spoiler, because I beat this game. I completely beat it to the point where the PlayStation couldn't handle me playing this game anymore, and it crashed. Uh, I made it to level 28, and I had like I don't know, like 30 something turrets up,
Mhm.
and I just couldn't handle it. The just I built a cluster, just build a cluster, just build a single tower, you can stand on top of the tower. And any enemy will come in directly towards you, which means they're coming directly at the tower, which means the tower is going to aim directly at the enemy. There's no curving or anything like that. And so then I just built a cluster of 4 standard bullet towers and slowly just built my way out from there. That way, any enemy has to come directly towards the towers, and they're just going to get hit up real quick. And based off of that logic, I just then started making my turret, like my perimeter, like aesthetically pleasing. Essentially, is what I did. So I think I had a 3 by 3 grid of bullets, and then I circled them with everything except for the corners. I circled them with the lightning towers, and then in the corners, I eventually built enough to put in flamethrowers. And then over from there, I built out another perimeter of lightning, like alternating between lightning and fire. And I was just yeah, I had a lot of things going on at once, but it's like the game doesn't. I think there's After the demon beast, there's a the bug goddess is what they call it as part of the trophies. And then there's one other cluster of monster ball flesh. I don't know. It's just this
Oh
weird thing that
yeah,
meteor
it's like
that
a
screams
meteor.
across.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
Um,
between all my lightning and all my flamethrowers going at it, it was just like it didn't stand a chance.
yeah. So, the way that I built mine was I started with one in the middle and then tried to build basically like I tried to spread out. And from the video you sent me, it seems like you that like your cluster of towers caused the game to crash because it was trying to do all of that like it was slowing down as it was shooting because all of the turrets were trying to fire at once. I built like a perimeter kind of, but then spread out because I didn't know what the game was going to throw at me. I thought it was going to start throwing like crazy enemies and stuff. So I wanted room to run, and I wanted to be able to like always be running to like the next tower for it and for the enemies to keep getting hit. But eventually, I was able to build like around. I only played till about level 23 before I was like, okay, I got the plat. I think that, and it was like that was like many levels ago, and I was like, I think that this game just goes forever probably because it wasn't increasing in difficulty. It wasn't throwing anything. I mean, it was done, and so I was like, okay. So I just turned it off. I do wonder how many levels it has because I think I got all the trophies. So it's not like you hit 50 levels or something and then it gives you get
No,
another.
it's literally you get levels from 2, 4, and 6. You have the first 3 monsters. 3 have 4 different types of monsters. So the first 3, each killing those one time. You have the 3 towers that you can make. Build and then there's building 5 and building 10 towers total.
Yeah,
Uh, that's it. Those and after that you get the plat.
yeah.
So once again, uh this is the equivalent of like Xbox 360's Avatar: The Last Airbender, um, you know, 1,000 trophy or achievements.
Mm.
Like it makes you feel, kind of dirty because you're like if you're trophy hunting, you're like, yeah, this
Yeah, I
I
don't know how this got through PlayStation QA. Like, or
you have to pay, no, it's not a QA thing. You pay I'm pretty sure you pay um for the trophies.
I
So
could have sworn that somebody said that you could be denied. I mean, there's cheap ones, yeah, that get through, but like, I thought that they tried to police that at least a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't
Oh,
know.
so there's still PlayStation VR games that don't have platinum trophies, and generally it's kind of frowned upon with the PlayStation VR community
Mm.
because you're like, come on, why can't you just give us a platinum for But they'll and so it just feels like you're not building up to a proper reward, and so speaking
It's
of, yeah.
kind of like treating like the VR community like a stepchild. Like it kind of sort of obvious that they did more or less.
Yeah, and so like kind of on that note, I mean, like I said, a lot of modern you'd almost think that when it comes to uh this day and age, an Xbox game would have 1,000, achievement or 1,000 achievements, and then you'd have a platinum trophy with any PlayStation game right now. Um, but with this other game that I played, which is I just let you know about that was free on PlayStation Plus extras or higher.
Uh,
That is The Exit 8,
Hang on,
which is the
hang
other.
on, hang on. I want to talk about
Okay.
this game a little bit more because like this game this Liminal Tower game, like I think $3 is the right price, and I applaud the person that made it for making for making a pretty good little game. But I think that the scope of it is not really right. I think there's a ton of meat that was left on the bone of this idea. And it's like, yeah, it's a tower defense game. It's like, okay. But it definitely has like enough pizzazz. It just needs like in the actual gameplay, and it's kind of stupid enough and silly enough, but like it just needs more. It needs more levels. It needs more nuance. It needs more types of towers. It needs maybe a couple different main character units. But and I know that all costs money and stuff. Um, but like I didn't really feel cheated, for my $3 that I spent on the game. But I did feel like, dang man, like $3 for less than 30 minutes worth of like use out of this, it is a little bit meh. And you have a pretty good idea here. You have a pretty good little thing going. Expand it out and keep the game at $3, but you'll probably be able to sell like gangbusters if this game is, I don't know, twice as big, four times as big, which I know is hard, but you could probably sell, 100 times more if you put four times the effort into what was already there. So anyway, I just wanted to say that and say like it just like it's I don't I'm not gonna sit here and say it's worth $3. I think it was to me, but there was just a lot like there's like dang this game is okay, but it could be so much better if they just kind of done like more. Hang on.
For $3, I enjoyed this more than like, and I had spent more time on it than I would of a candy bar. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Um, Now you also got to realize, um, you just paid for the early access, and then they're gonna make a number two, which is then they can sell you on the second version. I know you feel down and dirty when you're like, oh no, I hate early access, but that's what you just did. This was it's like by making the game, it's liminals in the title. They didn't say like exponential tower game. No, it's very much a minimalistic game. They priced it accordingly. They conned. Some people might feel like they're conned. I'm like, but they gave you a platinum for it. So
I mean, that is, I guess, some sort of consolation. I just don't like if they do make a Liminal Tower 2 and they expand it out and stuff. I still think, within reason, more than $3 is not really the right price. Like this game should be a lot bigger, should have a lot more, and still be $3. And it's like, well, what are you paying for? It's like, well, if you're selling a lot more units digitally, then $3 is what you want. It's like, well, but the margin is blah blah. We only make like this much more. It's like, yeah, but I think that a game like this has a really good chance of like hitting like a critical mass where it blows up and turns into like a meme game. And it's like, we only made a penny on each unit. Yeah, but you sold like 50 million units or so many million units or whatever. That's where
yeah, they got your money because they didn't slap on early access. And that's the thing. It's like if you certain people will not play, like don't have the time or the effort to put into enough to make a early access version of say uh said Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors came out, early access, very much incomplete, but it had enough there where it was like this is amazing as it is, and it came out at a good enough price point early on.
yeah.
And since then their DLC they've made have been it was pretty awesome and it's very very cheap. Um, but when depending on I don't know anything about the person or that made this or anything like this behind the scenes, so I can't say much. I can't say for the price for what you get. That's fine. It's one of those things that they make a sequel and they make it look better because they went with 1-bit in their title is 1-bit tower defense, and then they can make a pun on it and be like 2-bit or go up to 6-bit 8-bit whatever.
Yeah.
uh they can make it a Super Nintendo version, like they can literally do per sequel
Yeah.
Nintendo, Super Nintendo, 64, whatever, and make it their own little evolution series.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is what is sort of unfair about the game is like because it basically is an early access game. It's basically has no official end. It has no ta-da, which I guess wasn't necessarily have to be, but it does feel like you're sort of left there uh, with like, what do I do now? I guess I just turn the game off, kind of feeling. Um, so yeah, I think
Vampire Survivor did it with death reaping you themselves. Like okay, time is up. Your time is now done. Now you die.
yeah,
That's exactly.
but that's like we thought about the end and we've finished it. So that's like a finished game. So yeah, this is like a little bit unfinished and could probably. I hope they do make another one. I hope they do, whatever. I will at least investigate it. But I was just surprised by this silly little game that it was even as fun as it was for the short amount of time that it was fun.
Yeah, and once again, I think it would be, you know, iterations on it would be great. But for the little time I spent on it, I think it was less. I think it was less than an hour. I spent a little bit more time just because I was letting it autoplay essentially as I was seeing how far I can build the level up. I was playing a podcast literally in the background
Mm.
as I was letting this happen. And then I'm like, man, this game's slowing down. I wonder if it's going to crash. And sure enough, it did crash eventually. That was pretty hilarious.
You killed it.
I haven't induced a crash like that in PlayStation 5. So that's hilarious. So all right, but once again, like I said, this having the platinum, my other game, the Exit 8, which is the other game I played, uh, did not have a platinum. In fact, it has four trophies. Just it, four golden trophies. Uh, Now this is a for those who don't know, or they might know it as just Exit 8, but the official title is the Exit 8. Even has a movie based on the property, like the IP. It's the concept is you're stuck in a Japanese subway tunnel, like going from the subway platform to the street, and you're trying to find your exit number 8. You're stuck in an infinite loop, and which consists of a couple turns, a long hallway, and a couple more turns. Uh, you read a sign that tells you the explicit rules. One of the rules you can go ahead and ignore. It says stay to the left, but it says um, if you see an anomaly, turn around and go back. Uh, and you're like, okay. Um, as you walk in, you see, there's a sign above you telling you where the exit direction is. You have a couple doors to the right, a couple posters to the left, and a gentleman who walks by you. And every time you go through the loop, that's what you keep on seeing. If you're lucky, you end up going to the next. It says you go from exit 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. But if something happens and you screw up, the the exits reset to 0, and that's when you start to realize uh, this is more of a I Spy kind of game. So it's creepy because it is that kind of in that liminal space, like the pools or whatever you want to call it, type of where it's stark white tile area, very quiet, only the sound of your footsteps and the other person that walks by you. If you try to follow that person, they'll eventually make a couple turns and come to a full stop. They'll look at their watch and then they just won't move. And but it's I don't want to say anything like I don't want to give too many hints or anything like that because this game, I think I completed the whole game and did everything within I think like an hour and a half, hour and a half, something like that.
Okay.
So two things. One, if you wear glasses, make sure to wear your glasses. And two, don't play this when you're exhausted. 'Cause I think I started this game up at like I don't know, like 11:30 or midnight or something like that.
Mm.
And so here I am just kind of squinting. I'm like, all right. And I got stuck in I made enough progress. But I'm like, what am I missing? And then eventually I had to I just leaned forward a little bit and I had to pay more attention. And I'm like, okay. And it just take a bunch of mental notes. And by the time I did complete the game, my first completion, I got the trophy and there's even a sign that says, you've seen all of the anomalies. I'm like, cool. Now that I know that I've seen it all, let's see if I can do this one clean run in one go. So because it lets you just continue to play, again. And sure enough, I successfully did my next run flawlessly. But you just have to you're just making a laundry list of things of like this is what I need, or sometimes there's a sound that
Mm.
is it kind of tricks you. It's like the sound of the level loading. It's just a click noise that sometimes you're like, wait, did is it triggering something that is happening or is it triggered like is it now loading the next scene and I'm good or is it saying hey it just triggered something now I got to go back the way I came.
Uh,
uh some of the things are very obvious. So for example you have um you know what it's like you'll hear loud banging noise or something like that, or like flickering lights and you're like okay, which makes it absolutely terrifying because it's so minimalistic and there's not a lot to the game, you're like, okay, this seems way more horrific, or you see something weird that you weren't supposed to. You're like, okay, to about face, walk the other way. And as you continue to walk away, it loads as if you're going forward again because the game plays with you that way. Even you try to cheat the system by looking at the reflections against the wall because there's always the where it tells you this is the exit. You're now at essentially level 2 of 8, and you're like, okay. You go ahead and you're like, I can't tell the difference of this hallway. Is this the right hallway? You backtrack just a little bit and you look around the corner and you can see the yellow reflecting on the tile from like the sign, like is around the corner. That's where the sign is, and you're like, okay, I can see through the reflection, the yellow. So that means I'm good. It's like that sign is there because if you do walk around the corner, the sign is not there. That means you're going in the right direction, and you've about faced, because of an anomaly.
Okay.
Well, it turns out that yellow will always be reflected on the wall. It's like it will always be there until you round the corner, and if you screwed up and you turned around when you weren't supposed to, the sign will be right there. But if you did do it correctly, the reflection's still going to be there. The moment you round the corner, it'll just vanish. And you're like, okay, so I did turn around at the right moment. And so at first, sometimes you get lucky. It's like RNG.
Hmm.
There is I don't know how many, like a couple dozen maybe, different anomalies for you to face. And once again, some of them I was originally figuring out like I didn't know, but, like, because you just have a hunch, like, something feels off about this, I'm just gonna turn around, go the other way. Sure enough. Um, this game is a lot of fun, but you gotta really at one point, like I said, because I was so tired, I was like, "I'm getting really frustrated now." I'm but, like, I couldn't give in to it. I'm like, "No, no, not happening." And, uh, by the time I did finish the game, there's only 1 or 2 anomalies that through the main, hour and a half maybe that I played, that I swear I've only saw, like, once.
Hmm.
And then I went ahead and since I gave me a sign I got the trophy, plus it gives you a sign saying, "You've seen all the anomalies." I'm like, "Roger that," and I went ahead and looked them up, and I'm like, 1 or 2 of the anomalies, I'm like, "I didn't see you at all."
Hmm.
Like, or at least I don't remember seeing them, uh, but it could have been I just wasn't paying attention, but I turned around just out of reflex or because it adds up all the anomalies obviously through all your playthroughs.
Right.
So some of them I might have been like, "It just feels weird." I'm backing up and I turned around like, and I might have saw the anomaly without actually me physically
It's like
recognizing that I saw it.
subconsciously you saw it, but not consciously, and so you just backed up, and that's why you don't remember because it was just a subconscious sort of act. Okay.
Yeah, some of them are pretty funny because they're pretty obvious, but then some of them are effectively, like, gives you a good jump or a good, like, it's a silly game. It's more tense than it has any right to be. It's
Mm.
really stupid that way because you kinda, like, you turn to see something or something happens and you're like, I know there's nothing bad about this, or like one of the first things that happened to me was, I'm like, I know I shouldn't be doing this. This is obviously not the right thing to do, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this anyways.
Mm.
It's going to fail me, but I just want to see what happens. Um, yeah, totally worth a shot, especially on PlayStation Plus extras or premium if you have access to that. But that's it. This is the first time I remember a couple years back. This is the first liminal space game that I was exposed to. Like I heard someone talking about this. I saw a little bit of video on it. I'm like, oh, this sounds really cool. But I don't think it was on the PlayStation at the time. So it's just like, all right.
So I think that this game I did have an eye on a while ago, and I'm glad to see that it's come to PlayStation Plus to be in the catalog because I did hear a lot of really good things about this, or at least the ratings and reviews seem to be good. And then there's a sequel to it, I think, as well, right?
Not 100% sure on that. So
Or at
once again, I
least
hadn't.
a game in the same vein. That's like it's the same makers and it's like similar, same but different. You know.
So when I tried looking up the developer, uh, Kotake,
Mm.
it's like their wiki page doesn't have any links to anything else that they do. So I wasn't 100% sure on anything else of them. I know that, like I said, they made a movie from it, so that's good for them. But under anything else, there's no Exit 9 that I'm aware of. Um, there's probably a bunch of spin-offs or a bunch of people ripping him off, which I can totally see that happening. I know there was supposed to be like I think they did a VR version of this, but um, at least I thought they did.
Mm.
But I know it's just not on PlayStation. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on any of the other information on that. So if you know it, or if you find it, let me know. I'm kind of curious to see what else they do.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
almost positive that there is a sequel or some kind of like second game sort of thing, but I'll have to look it up a little bit later. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, okay. So it says, let's see, there's a direct sequel to this called titled Platform 8.
I was gonna say I
Uh,
thought it was platform, but I was like maybe that's not right. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
okay. And so yeah, that'd be cool. I know that, like I said, from what I just saw, the VR is still like MetaQuest.
Hmm.
So I'm like, all right, well, I would have loved to have played this in in PlayStation VR. The concept of some of the things happening, I'm like, that would be, like I got a good jump out of it just being on two screen or a 2D plane. So I'm like, dude, having it in VR would have been wild. Even
Yeah.
when I knew what to expect, some of them were still like kind of trippy. Even though I've experienced it more than once and I knew what to look for, I had kind of a scouting rhythm. Like I started having a connecting path, being able to check this, check that, check there, and then but then I'd still f up, and I'd be like, by the time I make it in, I'm like, I checked everything. There's nothing, and then I'm like, I'm back to zero again. I'm like, oh gosh, like
Yeah.
you start cursing at yourself. That's what I said. Play when you're not tired. Play if you wear glasses, pay attention, or sit close enough to the TV. Um, some of the small details, or like when I found certain things, I'm like, wait, am I seeing that right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, I'm going to back up now, turn around. I'm like, yeah, all right, that is a thing to look out for in the future. Um, so yeah, it just becomes a checklist essentially of, all right, uh, this is something that I've discovered, something else that like I swear, like I said, one or two of those, I think two of the items I still never found that, but I allegedly found. But like,
Okay.
it wasn't until after I looked them up and I'm like, oh yeah, there's supposed to be this type of thing that happens. I'm like, I actively don't remember that, so I must have just thought I saw something else and backed up, and it just gave me credit for it. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of feel like cheated, or like one of them was a I know for sure one of them I only saw once early on when I first started my gameplay, and I didn't see it at all at the entirety of time. And I'm like, and then sure enough, when I looked up all the answers, I'm like, yeah, there's that one specific. Um, Only saw it in the beginning once, and just the RNG just never populated with that specific anomaly ever again. So that was just, it's kind of the thing because I remember one of them for sure. I just ran forward and I went from like 2 to 6, like it just RNG'd me with, or like maybe 2 to 5, like the couple pass throughs going straight, running because that's the thing is the only button you have, and luckily they're pretty easygoing, is thumbstick to run, but you can also use either trigger buttons or a thumb or like the X button. So I'm like, okay, they make it really easy for you to run, which is great. Um, eh, I wish I could just auto set it to run, but also at the same time, as you start running, you're not going to um, notice the things as easily. So they kind of want you to pay attention. Uh, but at one point, I was just like, no, no, no. I'm just gonna. I think I got them all. I started speed running, then I started screwing up a whole bunch, and I'm like, okay, there's apparently a lot more that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Also, there's some text that I think it's just a rendering issue, like on the door,
Okay.
and like every time you look at it, it shimmers, so your eyes kind of like have to adjust. And I'm like, it change on me? Did it not? So I'll just tell you this: the door text doesn't change. There's
Okay.
three doors. Text on the door doesn't change. Here I am trying to remember what kanji I can actually remember, and I'm trying to like make sure it didn't change on me. And I'm like, no, no, it's the con. Don't worry about the door kanji, okay? That does not have anything to do with it. Um, the doors maybe, but not the kanji. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
So that's kind of a red herring that you can kind of ignore.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's once again, I honestly think it's a rendering issue because like you look
Right.
at it and it kind of shimmer just for a little bit, and then every time you're like, okay, was that supposed to be like a white noise thing, like is showing you something staticking and then showing you something else?
Right.
I'm like, and I'm just gonna say don't waste your time like I was, because especially since I didn't have my glasses, but I was too lazy to go into the other room and grab them. And I'm like, so what I did is I was like, okay, I knew couple like I knew I recognized the first or the ending kanji of certain ones, and I'm like, okay, if they change, I'll recognize that kanji, and I just wasted too much damn time looking at that stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But play the game, have some fun. No plat, unfortunately. Uh, but you know what? For I can see why this game, for that little short moment of time, had a lot of popularity.
Yeah.
Uh, and I do want to be able to play that sequel now. So yeah. All right. Now that's it for what we've been playing, really. A couple little short bits, bite-sized games to start out the new year. Now let's get to what we've been watching. Nick, what have you been watching?
So continuing on with our theme of uh, hidden gem, weird things. I watched a movie at the recommendation of my mom, um, and it's I can say that yeah, I think it's a little bit of a hidden gem, if you will. Um, the movie is called Coherence. Came out in the year 2013, uh, right around 90 minutes long. Very low budget, bunch of actors that you've probably seen here and there in one offs, but nobody that's like ultra famous. Um, it's a sci fi movie about a dinner party that's taking place in LA where a comet is passing overhead. It's passing kind of basically like through around the Earth's atmosphere. It's not gonna hit the planet. It's not like the end of the world movie or like a disaster or everything like that. Um, but the comet is sort of the impetus of the weirdness that happens in this movie. So that's really all I can say before I have to start getting a little bit spoilery. Um,
So this is Nicholas Brendan. He plays Xander in Buffy, the old Buffy series. Uh,
yeah.
he was the main staple in that one. Uh, no, I was surprised to see him in this. I was like, oh man, so we talk about some people we don't know. Okay.
Yeah, he's one that I recognized. He's been in a couple other things, and then Maury Sterling plays a guy named Kevin, and I'm pretty sure that I had seen him in various things throughout time. Um, there's just a couple people. It's like, man, I've seen that person around. Um, but anyway, not anybody that you're really gonna be like, oh, I really like that actor. I mean, I guess if you like Nicholas Brendan, then yeah, great. But that was just sort of me trying to set that up. Um, yeah, so so if you're into kind of mind bendy type of movies, then this is probably something that you should at least give a try. Um, I watched this movie and I got about 85 or 90% of it. But um, my mom was like, she there was more stuff that she was kind of wondering about. So she went and found a bunch of YouTube videos. And then after she recommended the movie to me, she sent me a YouTube video that she thought did a pretty good job explaining it. And I think that you can watch this movie and understand it and get what you need out of it. But then I do think it kind of enhances the movie to then go and watch some YouTube videos just to sort of maybe see what you missed if you missed anything, because I know I did. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say before I really dig into maybe some of the spoilery type stuff. And I don't think there really is. So uh, yeah, so the mm, yeah, I don't think I really want to. I don't think I really want to say any more about it because it is, um, like the whole crux of the movie is the weirdness that is going on. And I think if you have an idea beyond that there's weirdness, then it kind of ruins the movie. So I'm gonna leave it here for now and just say that you should probably go watch it. And I think Joe, I think that you should probably watch the movie. And if you ever do, that we should talk about it at that time. But I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it there. Good movie. Recommend. If you've ever seen a movie called Primer, uh, it's not really like that, but it's a little bit like that. I would say it's a little bit more straightforward and easy to follow than Primer, um, but there's a lot of Primer vibes that I got from this movie. Um, yeah, so good movie. I enjoyed it. If anything of that I've said makes sense to you, then go check it out.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at this real quick. The director, uh, looking at some of the other things, the only other thing that was really notable from them was Rango, apparently.
Mhm.
Um,
Never saw
and
Ringo.
I know neither did I. So
I heard it
that's
was
why,
weirdly good. Isn't it like yeah, I heard it was weirdly good, but weird, but good, but weird.
yeah, not 100% on that. So it was just, it was just interesting the fact that uh kind of seems to be their big uh other film that maybe someone else would know. Yeah, all right. I'm kind of, you have me curious in it. I'm always down for a good weird movie. Turns out that it's available free on Pluto and Tubi. So
Yeah,
uh
I
there's no reason not to watch it, I guess.
I actually watched it on Peacock. So I watched like I think they played a commercial at the beginning because I don't think I have the highest tier of Peacock, but and then I watched it without commercials after that. But yeah, like it is on like I did notice that it was on like the free channels and stuff like that. So low barrier to entry and not a big time commitment, and it's an interesting idea.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, if I ever do get around to it, we'll have that discussion at that time. Um all right. Now to some anime. All right, so new anime lists still coming out. Things are getting dubbed in English. Things are popping off all over the place. Still, a lot of stuff hasn't had episode 3. I'm just gonna hit you up with some low filling junk food version of anime stuff that will hold you over but not really satisfy you. So, uh, let's see. Let's hit up with you can't be in a rom com with your childhood friend or friends. The answer is yes, you can in anime, but I guess in this one, this person doesn't believe so. So you have your main typical Japanese high school pro tag who is as dense as the forest can possibly be. Doesn't understand that the girls around him are all super thirsty for him, and no one wants to outright admit their own feelings, so therefore they play it off as, obviously these it's okay that I'm clinging to you, or it's okay that this is happening because we're friends. And it's a bunch of mind-numbing experience, but if you enjoy a good rom-com trope, they do a lot of that.
It's
uh,
very. It looks like a very soft color palette anime. Very kind of washed out, but pastelly and yeah. Is it a is it a is it a harem? Is that
Uh,
kind of
it might as well be.
okay?
It would be a harem if he realized that they are all into him, but but they're not because they're all childhood friends.
Of course.
It's mind-numbingly irritating because of that concept.
Yeah.
You have like all the archetypes. Episode 1 portrays two different archetypes. You have the literal girl next door, and then you have the tsundere, childhood friend. You have the tomboy athletic one later on, and you have I guess a third one, or a fourth one to boot for whatever reasons. So yeah, it's probably the younger sister archetype or something like that. Not quite sure. It's one of those things I'm like, I remember reading like the first chapter of this and then dropping it. Like
Mm,
because I'm like this is I'm like I'm very sure I'm like I'm pretty positive I know this, and then I'm like, and I feel like that's this season of anime entirely. Like there's a lot of I think I know this, or I'm pretty sure I read this, but I can't remember because a lot of these things are very similar to each other. Yeah, once again, it's okay for what it is. If you like a, if you like this, something lighthearted, if you like the whole high school flirtatious story, it's just I just don't think it's anything meaningful. Once again, junk food. It'll hold you over. It'll get you to it'll get you through your meal as you're you're like doing something, but it's not going to really, at least at this rate, at this stage, it's I don't think it's going to like leave any real lasting marks on you. Um,
okay.
Now, the next one, Jack of all trades, party of none. So once again, this one, 1000%. I'm like, I know this anime. I'm almost positive I read this manga, or I've read four others like it.
So
I'm
that
pretty sure.
so I did watch the first episode of this, and yeah, it's like, to me it's very forgettable because there's another anime that I watched the first episode of that one, and it was like almost verbatim the same start. It was like, I'm being ejected from my old party and I'm going to get a new party of people that appreciate me. The other one was like three girls that he ended up being in a party with, where they all like immediately fell in love with him and stuff like that. This one, I think he actually goes into a party of like of mixed gender, as it were. But I could, but is that right? Because it's been a couple weeks since I actually watched this.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the name. I'm pretty sure I know the name of the other one you're talking about. Once again, this is a very next door to the isekai trope is this ejected from your party and finding the new group trope, and there is a lot of those. Uh there's one that's like scooped up by an S rank party. That one had at least another mixed gender group. The one that you were thinking of, I'm pretty sure was he ended up being their tutor at what, like he helped
Yeah,
train them, and therefore they looked at him um as the teacher, the senpai sensei role, and then they're like, well, we're now now we're in a party together, so you're fair game. um so it's, yeah, once again, it's I couldn't quite remember if I had actually read a first couple chapters of these, and that's unfortunately it's like anime that this is more than ever needs to be 3 episodes watched before you get anything good out of it, because uh similar with the isekai or the villainous animes or just any of these, it's like they have, it's the same thing. All right, now what's your catch? What, what's the MacGuffin? What's gonna, the trope that's gonna differentiate you from the rest of them? You know, is the, and that's why when you get like an actual uh rom com or something like that, and then um a character decides to actually date someone early on, and you're like, oh man, that person's in a relationship, or they announce that they are doing something, it's like they, or if you have a hero that straight up is willing to murder people, something like something that stands out, you're like, oh great, you're not just going to be uh this tepid person, and you're actually going to make decisions, and you're actually going to do things, or at least stand your ground and not be a complete wet blanket of a person. uh right now this is better than that, but at the same time, it's not much. It's I haven't seen I have seen 2 episodes at this point, and it's okay. Like it's. I'm not gonna say tell anyone don't watch it, at least not right now. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, there's a few others that are better, and some that some season this season is absolutely epic, which I haven't. We'll get to those later. Um,
yeah.
but that's the thing, is it's just that
It
you, yeah,
it
it's
didn't
it's
seem it didn't seem good, but it also didn't seem really that bad. Like, there's definitely a lot of other worse anime that you could watch, and especially ones that are probably out this season. But you're not really gonna do yourself any favor. It's like nobody is gonna nobody's gonna put this on there. I mean, unless something crazy happens, which with manga and anime, sometimes crazy stuff does happen. But you're probably not going to be missing out on the one of the anime that's making it on everyone's top list or anything like that. This is a, a tried and true story that's been kind of rehashed to death in the modern era. So yeah,
It's literally a different story reskinned for the most part, and it's like the thing that sell you on it is like, all right, well, how are they talking about the economics of the world? How are they doing their magic system? How are, and then more importantly, their character designs are what characters are, what girls are you swapping out their palettes for? How's the main character palette swapped? It's like, okay, do they, like I said, do they look how any different? Are they any stronger minded? Is there any reason to like them more than another? And the one you were thinking about before was I left my A rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths.
yes,
Um,
that is it.
and yeah, that one was the, like I said, that one was actually neat because it does kind of go places, but it's at the same time it doesn't. It's like a C B rank all the way through. It's just like it never goes to far extremes. It does some neat things, and once again, it's like it's a all right watch. I enjoyed my time with it, but at the same time, I'm not going to be like, dude, you need to watch this.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like a lot of this. Like I said, that's why it's the junk food section right now. It's like the empty calories. It holds you over to till the next meal, but it won't actually you won't really remember much of it by the time you're done. At least that's how I'm feeling right now. We'll see how these things change. This last one, I've only seen one episode of, uh, but it kind of has some potential as being just a cutesy kind of thing. It's an adventurer's daily grind at age 29. So, uh, essentially, an orphan street urchin of a kid in a fantasy world makes their way by killing monsters and trying to become an adventurer in order to, not starve. Flash forward, now they're an adult. They're in a rural town, helping out, being an adventurer, doing daily quests, and they just live in a comfortable life. They're appreciated by the people in town because they help them out by, slaying what needs to be slain, gathering what needs to be gathered, being a part of the community. And they happen to find an orphan in the dungeon. Happen that just is trying to also murder things to survive. But because they're an outer towner, they know that the village is the main guy knows that the village isn't just going to take this orphan in because they're not a local. And they're like, well, we can barely feed the mouths we have, so we're not going to take in a kid from the outside. So they decide to take in the kid and raise them themselves, just because it's like this kid reminds me of me, so they're kind of training them to be an adventurer. Uh, so far it looks kind of cute. Though they have to throw in their fan service where they're like, yeah, turns out when nighttime hits, she turns into this little girl turns into a fully grown woman, and it's just like then at the very end they're like, all right, mic drop, she's a succubus probably. So yeah, it's just like, okay, I guess this is their lowly loophole, where they're like, he doesn't have interest in a child, but he might have interest in it as a full-fledged adult. Um, yeah,
Okay.
it is pretty funny though because the at least the English dubbing, uh, he goes ahead and explains her changes to the like the waitress, and she's like, "So how does," she's like, "So what happened?" She's like, "Her chest got big." And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, big enough to bury yourself in or something like that." And he's just like, "Oh, not as big as yours, but pretty comparable." And of course, he makes the waitress fluster, and he gets a kick out of it, and it has like a subtitle on the bottom or something like the worst kind of like 29-year-old or something like that.
Mm.
Um, and then he tries saying something similar to the guild receptionist, and who just deadpans it and be like, okay, so she grows as an adult. She grows into an adult at night, and then he just completely like is upset by the fact that she did not have a reaction, and she calls him out on it. So it's kind of pokes fun of it being meta in its own way. So I'm like, all right, uh, it seems like it could be have potential being cute, and as far as like a building a family, like mentoring and all that stuff. But episode one, at least it's okay. Seems all right. Uh, we'll see how this progresses, I suppose. Um, yeah, next week I'm hoping to talk a little bit more because episode threes will be out on a bunch more stuff,
Mm.
and there's a lot of potential good stuff out there. And of course, we've yet to still talk about the Firin and the Oshinoko yet. But I mean, like I said, I'm not really too worried about those. We all know
We
those are going to be,
those will be watched. We will definitely be watching those.
and I think everyone else who knows of them will watch them. So that's why I'm talking about the stuff that is more under the radar.
Maybe a little more under the radar, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. On that note, let's go on to the news. So Nick, what do you got for us?
So probably the biggest thing right now is the Xbox Developer Direct that just happened, today as of today when we're recording this. So we'll talk about that, and there's a couple other little things that maybe a couple days old, but yeah. So Xbox Developer Direct. So um, last year's Xbox Developer Direct, I believe, is where we first got a significant amount of information about Claire Obscure. And then there was also South of Midnight, and there was also Doom the Dark Ages that were talked about on that one. So South of Midnight didn't really hit, but it was an interesting like looking game. So I saw sort of why they wanted to put that out there. And then I don't remember if there was another game, but that was last year. So this
It
year
was Ninja Gaiden Black was the other one, wasn't it?
it was what?
They announced the Ninja Gaiden 4 and Ninja Gaiden
Oh,
Black.
that was it. Ninja Gaiden 4. That was, and then like yeah, the Ninja Gaiden Black as well, but like 4 was like the big seller as well. So they definitely picked um games that 3 out of 4 people were like, hey, these are like really good games. And the other one was at least unique. So I think we kind of have that again here this year. So I'll just go ahead and say which 4 games were talked about. Forza 6, which is taking place in Japan. That's the setting is Japan. And then
Forza Horizon.
sorry,
Um,
yeah. So
yeah.
Forza Horizon 6, Japan. Um, and then Beast of Reincarnation, Kiln, and Fable. So yeah. So um, Forza 6, Forza Horizon 6 um, looks really good. The Forza games always look very good. I played a little bit of Forza Horizon 4, I think, a long time ago. I really enjoyed that more. I don't really care for racing games all that much. But I really was like, dang, this is actually really cool. And I wish I had more time to get like way into this. Um, this one being in Japan does have my interest peaked quite a bit. And it looks really beautiful. And they talk about the car culture and stuff like that in this developer direct quite a bit. So they do a pretty good job kind of showing the game and kind of showing why you should be interested in it. And it does seem like there's a lot of like beyond just the racing. Like you can build this and you can have a base and you can kind of do these things and have meetups and have hang out with your friends and stuff like that. So it did seem pretty interesting for that aspect of it. And then they did announce that it's coming out May 19th, 2026. So just kind of around the corner. But yeah, looked pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, so they did talk a lot about this one. They're kind of going back to their older progression system where you're getting the wristbands and kind of slowly working your way up the tiers or what the game has to offer. Uh, now they mentioned like one of the things is that you got a base you can build, and through that base building you can kind of you set up your garage, but then you can what looks like you could build your own factory in the background. I was expecting when they showed this empty field, I'm like, oh, you're gonna have your own like little track or something. But they're like, no, no, you have your industrial factory. It looked like
Yeah, you have
I wasn't.
like you make a compound essentially, like houses and garages and like yeah, you can have like yeah, I guess some kind of a factory or your your mechanic shops and stuff like that. So, and you can make it look pretty futuristic and cool too.
Yeah, and of course they're talking about like doing Tokyo street racing, and of course they dropped talked about Gunma, and I'm like, okay, of course, yeah, you got to have your drifting through Gunma, initial D, heritage right there.
Right.
One of the neat things they mentioned was they have an auto drive system, and I thought that was great because I'm like, yeah, you can just literally have your living wallpaper there for you. Just have your car drive for you and just enjoy the scenic scenery. I thought that'd be kind of fun. Uh, yeah, it looks good. It has a lot to offer. Five was well received. Number five was the Mexico location, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I think this is going to bring a lot of people in. People been wanting to see. They really talked about heavily about the seasons. You see them going through the snowy passes where it's like it's it's not necessary, but in Japan they do it just for the tourist locations of there's I forget where it is now, but they're like, yeah, you're driving and you're literally having like a three-story wall of snow.
Yeah.
That they cut into the snow, make it perfectly like they chiseled them. Like there's no reason for you to actually have to drive in a road that can potentially collapse on you if the weather gets bad. But it looks really cool on a tour bus, when you're going to like the ski resort.
Yeah.
Uh and so I'm like, all right, yeah, there's that. Of course, you got the cherry blossoms. You'll have the coast. You'll have Fuji in the background. So I think it's going to be a fun location for sure. And the size and scope of they've made Tokyo itself. Um, it's claiming to be bigger than any city or any scope they've done before, which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm excited about this. They're coming with this on the Xbox and PC, but then they're going to later in the year. Or allegedly they're coming out with it on PlayStation, which is going to be cool. I hope they have PlayStation VR integration because um, I think it'll really give a lot to it. I mean, they said they're supposed to be, Microsoft is supposed to be working on Flight Simulator with VR, PSVR 2 capability when it does. So I'm hoping that if they can do Forza with, if they're willing to put in the effort to make PSVR 2 compatible, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, because I just really want to be able to experience that cockpit view and then that all the pretty scenery.
Yeah, that will be really cool if they can do that because like the Gran Turismo uh works pretty well for that. So Forza might even work even better because it's yeah, it's newer at least. Next up, Beast of Reincarnation. This game is by Game Freak, which is the same guys that make Pokemon. And you can definitely see the lineage there. I'm correct about that, right?
Yeah, it's Game Freak who does
Okay.
Pokemon,
Okay.
but yeah, it's this game. I would have never guessed it was done by Game Freak, but
Okay,
so
yeah.
that's
So yeah, it's well, real quick, it's planned for summer 2026. But they didn't give a solid date. But yeah, like you can kind of see the lineage there. It definitely looks very different from Pokemon, the old ones or the new ones, but you can kind of see some of the same sort of like lineage, as I said earlier, like same sort of ideas. But so this one um, is you are a female protagonist in a kind of a Asian fantasy, like Asian medieval fantasy sort of world, and you have a kind of I'll just it's like a dire wolf as a partner in the game, and long kind of a long story short, there are plants that are magical plants that are kind of taking over, and you have to sort of defeat them. But it also looks like you're using their powers as well. So so I watched about a third of this presentation, and then I skipped the rest because I'm pretty sure that I am going to buy this game. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play this game. And I was thinking about it as I was watching, and I was like, yeah, I don't want any more of this like spoiled for me. I just want to kind of just sort of experience the game after it comes out because it does look pretty good. It looks fairly unique. Not really unique, but fairly unique. It looks nice. It looks like a good action sword swinging type of game. And Yeah, it looks like a game that's uh that's going to sell pretty well and is going to try there's it looks like a little bit more of a triple A, kind of a title. Rather like whereas Pokemon doesn't really ever get to that point to me. This one does feel like, hey, we're trying to make the environments look good. We're trying to make the story maybe a little bit more serious or whatever. And so yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. So I didn't watch all of this because I do want to play it later, but I was wondering what you thought about it.
All right, so I'm kind of I don't know if I'm
I
not as excited as you are about this.
Okay,
So the thing is, I do find the setting a little more interesting because this is actually what it actually is. It's post-apocalyptic
right. Oh yeah.
uh
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
fantasy. So it's actually set in the year 4026. And that's why you see remnants of machines and stuff like that. It's supposed to be, you know, after the apocalypse, and then everything's greened over. Um, and that's kind of the reason, I guess, you can see like mutations because the dire wolf has a tail of vines. Um, the the gameplay looks to be like kind of near inspired.
Hmm.
It's like a little bit of maybe Dark Souls. You see a lot of flashing red lights. I'm like, okay, you instinctively like in your brain go, oh, you need to parry now, or dodge. Like the red flashy light, parry your ass into safety. So it's like if it plays uh kind of like a Souls s game, or like something like Stellar Blade or something like that. I'm like that'd be all right. I'd be okay with that if it has solid gameplay, like a Near or something.
It seems like it's
Uh,
going to be that. Yeah, it really
yeah.
does.
So, I'm not the biggest fan of the Studio Ghibli. Like a lot of it feels very taken from that. Like we're gonna some Mononoke esque. We
Yeah.
have the animal covered in blight or something, and so I've never been that. I'm more of a metal sci-fi like post like or like opposed to the natural greenery stuff. But at one point they show a scene where the wolf is more or less creating a link with the main heroine through her ponytail.
Hmm.
So that's I'm like, okay, that you're somehow gifting her her
Nature.
magic or something,
Yeah.
her nature powers.
Yeah.
So and like the wolf gets hurt, you see she has that psychic link with it, so she feels the pain kind of deal.
Okay.
Not it's interesting. It's most definitely ambitious for something Game Freak has done. uh do I don't necessarily the thing is I don't really necessarily trust Game Freak. If you just told me this came out from random studio, Chinese, especially random Chinese studio, because they've there's a lot of very pretty, very competent, like mid-level competent games coming out from China.
Hmm.
Like I would think this is it, but because it's Game Freak and they have uh a pedigree behind them, or at least they're stable. You're like, okay, at least they would have the funds to make this work.
That's what I was thinking.
you
Is
know
they have Pokemon money to throw at it, and it looks nice. But yeah, like I'm willing to try this game. I mean, as we get closer, there's going to be reviews that come out. If it's good, there'll be reviews that come out prior to it, or maybe at least some word, even if there aren't officially reviews. So, as it gets closer, I might back out if it's really like, yeah, this game's really not very good. But it seems like it's passing the eye test, I'm and I'm even if it's not like good or whatever, I'm looking forward to trying it because I think it's going to be, even if it's not good, it'll be talked about as kind of a, as like an interesting failure, or maybe even as like a spectacular failure, or like a game that could have been, more or less. It just seems it's on my short list of games for the year with that I saw from last year, being like, okay, that's something that looks like it'll be worth playing.
I'm hopeful because if it turns out to be really good, then Game Freak can start branching out and doing something because they Pokemon is not has not been solid. Well, the Arxia whatever that was unique and different, but the just the mainline Pokemon games mainly because Nintendo kind of sucks, and I'd rather play Pokemon on a competent system. Um, when
I mean,
it's like that's
they've only
how I
been making Pokemon for 30 years. So, yeah, it seems like that they've taken their time before branching out. Um, but yeah, like the art style shifting over to 3D, I think that they focused on what they were good at. Um, but I think that the the type of game that Pokemon is was not really able to make the jump into 3D very well. Probably because of just the sheer number of units that you need in the game and the way that has to actually fit together. It works really well when it's like 2D and you have like a Pokedex, and you kind of have a limited move set and stuff like that. But when you have 3D, it just for some reason, not that it can't work, but to me, it's never really been the same. So for them to, I'm just glad that they're looking at that and they're going, you know what, we need to do something different if we're gonna make the jump into 3D. We're just gonna have to do something different, and they are.
yeah, the fact that they're swinging for the fences on this one, and like I said, I do hope it turns out really good because it will be divisive for them. Like if this does poorly, then back in the Pokemon hole, Pokeball you go, right? It's just like get back in there. It's just like we're only letting you out once every couple of years. But if they branch out, they can maybe do be more independent and have more freedoms. But all right, cool. I mean, like I said, I'm glad that like you're pretty stoked about this too. So we'll uh at least at the very least we'll get your opinions on it.
Yeah, I'll pay $70 for a dud again, but that's just the life of a video game podcaster. Um, Next up, a little game called Kiln, coming out spring 2026. I thought that this was the best presentation, um, because it was really stupid and silly, but it also did a really good job of like showing you sort of what they were going for. And so this game is I forget the exact terminology that they use for it, but basically it's a multiplayer team based, um like like shooter kind of game where you play as, um pots, and vases and different pottery, and you have to carry water over to their enemy's kiln and try to put their kiln out, because and then they have to put your kiln out, and I guess otherwise you're just able to continue to grow units or whatever. So that's what stops growing units. That's what ends the game. So this is from Double Fine. Is that it?
Yeah, it's Double Fine.
Yeah. So so I was a little bit higher on this game than you were. I think I
I
don't.
don't about this game at all, dude.
Okay.
I'm a huge Double Fine fan in theory, I guess. I used to be a big fan, and then I like a lot of the early stuff. I just unfortunately fallen off of the latter stuff in years, but I do respect them, and I'm very happy that they continue to make different kinds of games. Like I respect them immensely for that. This is nowhere near in my wheelhouse, but if I was young, like I could see being a grade schooler and being like, this is a fun, quirky game to play with friends.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like they still have a lot of they're a studio that still has a lot of charm and whimsy behind them. You see that with like Keeper from last year, which I didn't get a chance to play, but I was curious about. Uh, the game before that that I remember was like Rad and like also really weird. Did not get like I just did not interest me enough. But they've made some really good stuff, and it's just unfortunately the um the latter few games just have really just been not for me.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I will probably not buy this game. I will probably not play this game. Um, I, but I think that it's just very odd. It's just a very odd gamble to take. I hope that it does well. If somebody puts it in my hands and wants me to play it, I will play it. I think it probably could be quite a bit of fun. Um, but it is definitely they are definitely swinging for the fences on this one. It's like you're making a multiplayer team battler about vases. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Once again, it's the part of the game is you actually getting to mold your stuff and like shape it if you want, and it kind of recognizes if
Yeah.
you're making a cup, a vase, a pot. I'm like, okay, that's all cool. That seems very niche. I think this would be a great I think it'd be a great party game if everyone's like half in the bag.
Yes.
Like no one knows how to play it. Everyone's cursing at each other. I think that would be the right moment. But I also think that's a flash in the pan. Like, okay, we played it for that one time. We're not going to touch this again afterwards. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I do wonder how much staying power this has. I do wonder. I mean, this is like a multiplayer game, and so it it feels like Double Fine's idea for like a money printer. It's like if we can make the next Fortnite out of this killed game, then we'll be able to get to make whatever we want for the rest of our lives. Um, but
Yeah, but it's not really
so
them. That's
no,
the thing
no,
is,
no, no.
yeah, that
It's
they're most historically noted for. They did the one thing that no other studio can say is Microsoft legitimately helped them out. Like without Microsoft, they wouldn't exist.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's so that's kind of why you
Well,
want them to succeed. You want them to have success.
but I mean, like what I'm trying to say is like with multiplayer games, you have a high upside, but you have a pretty big canyon to get across before you can have that high upside, and that is a player base. You've got to have a lot of people playing, you know, all the time. You've got to have it. This can't just be a me and my six friends play this game a bunch. It's got to have a decent online presence. It's got to have that, like friend, base that you can put in here, but it's got to have a lot of the other stuff as well. And that's what I worry about for this game. It's like how many people are really going to be like, I really want to play a game about pottery fighting. I could see that there is like a lot of like young, like really like young kids who are would be kind of into it, and their parents would be like, "Oh, thank goodness, a game where they're not like literally like blood shooting out of people's heads and like people get exploding." I could see as a parent you getting behind this game, being like, "Yes, you can definitely play this game. This is what I want you to play, Timmy." Um,
This reminds me of like a Plants vs Zombies, Garden Warfare, the sequel, or something along the lines of like their version of a
I
Splatoon,
was gonna
like
say
kind of
Splatoon. Yeah,
like it's a party game. It's a group game. It's meant to be more lighthearted. And once again, it may not be for us as old adults that don't care anymore and are jaded, but at the same time, it's just if this is readily available, easy access, in this case, it's going to be Game Pass game. But if it's more available in a lot of things and you can just have it in your back catalog, I feel like it'd be kind of up there for me, like how on my PS4 or whatever, I would have games like Nidhogg and Starwall, like these little stupid games that you don't play, but like when you have the right like mood mentality and you have some people around you, you're like, yeah, let's play this a stupid game where just it's half skill based, half luck, and you're just cursing at each other the entire time and you're just having fun drinking.
yeah,
And I feel like this would be that kind of game for adults,
yeah.
or if you have kids, like it's like that are and then, like I said, you don't want to play Halo Deathmatch with, you know. So,
And then
uh,
a part of me also wonders if this game is going to turn into like a gigantic esport. And it's just going to be like, it's going to be like the Kiln World Championships where there's like 5v5, this guy's the vase, this guy's the, uh, the teacup, this guy's the like tea plate, just,
only if there's I would love there to be a meta for how you're supposed to mold, like actually shape your pottery,
yeah,
and like, no, you need to curve it this way because it creates the flow better or something like that. It's
yeah.
but anyways,
I could see
like I
that
said,
happening too.
I respect a lot. Like, I'm actually more interested in how the music's gonna play out because I have like a lot of the old music from uh Double Fine games. I still really like Massive Chalice.
Uh-huh.
It was a weird game, but the soundtrack to it was really solid. Was that Hack and Slash was also a really good one from them. I love Costume Quest. Both games, one and two, are those games are great. Um, so like I said, I want to like their stuff. I just, when Psychonauts 2 came out, the other year, and it's been so long and I just didn't care. Like, I wasn't the biggest Psychonauts fan one. Though I remember working at GameStop when that came out, and a lot of people just absolutely loved it. I just, for some reason, it just didn't quite hit me right. And like, they finally came out with number two, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna pass it. And so between that and Rad from before, uh, I just wasn't that keen on the concept. And then, like I said, Keeper came out, and it was like, this looks really cool, but at the same time, I just don't see myself like, I
Yeah,
haven't played it, I haven't touched it, and I'm like, I think I want to go through the story of it just to see what it's all about, but at the same time, I just feel like they're being very independent. They're being very them. And once again, I absolutely love that part of Double Fine. Uh, but maybe you should make yourself just a tad bit more mainstream. Just,
yeah.
just a touch to make your games more profitable. You don't need to make all the monies, but I also don't want you to shutter. I want you to keep your doors open, you know.
Yeah, that the business of it kind of creates a fine line, but yeah, we can cheer them on without necessarily having to pay for their products. But yeah, we'll see how this game actually goes. But yeah, spring 26 is the release window. And then the last game that they talked about in this developer direct was Fable, and the planned release date for it is fall 2026. Um, I thought this game looked, it's Fable, right? So they're remaking Fable. They're doing a lot of the Fable things, where you can buy property and you can talk to like a bunch of NPCs, and then you can do a bunch of different, like you have jobs and you can have like a whole like life, more or less. What I worry about this game is that it's going to be too much of the memes of Fable and not enough like like you need to kill things and it needs to be fun to kill things, you know, game. Um
I
so
fear the opposite, actually. So
well they
it's
went
actually
like they went heavy and hard on all the like fable-y type things, the things that you think of when you think of Fable. Like, oh,
I
you
don't think so, actually. I actually think they're actually, so this isn't Lionhead Studio anymore, right? That's one key takeaway is,
no
it's
Molyneux
Playground.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Playground Games, which is, Forza team. Um and for one, it's actually, it looks more, the characters look more realistic opposed to the caricatures that the
Yeah.
cartoony style that they have in the past. They already said it a while ago. Your there's no there You don't really have the alignment, the evil good and evil alignment system that the original games were based on, because the cartoony bits that you're afraid of, like, that was the key points, like the linchpins to the original games. As evil as you are, you literally grow horns, and you have a red aura around you, or if you were good, you would eventually get a halo, like you were just angelic and everyone treated you as a god. um and that is not in this. They said they're not going to do that. And what happens now is, because it's being more grounded, I feel like they keep some of the nostalgia. You got your chicken chaser. name tag for kicking a chicken because
Hmm.
that was one of the first ones from the first game. And, it's like, and everyone would call you Chicken Chaser if you people would call you names if they think you're a certain kind of person. I was it. You can have the moniker of rich tycoon, and
Right.
underneath it goes, person sees you as a rich twat. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm like that. So that was like that's okay. That's funny. Now what they as far I'm afraid that they're not gonna British humor was always the takeaway in the first it was novel because the US hadn't seen a lot of that, and it was like, "Okay, it's alright." A lot of silly, kinda low-hanging fruit jokes. I think that I don't really feel that this is gonna be a meme game, though, because if they were, they would have leaned in more in a lot of stuff, but they seem to be playing it safe, like, really safe,
So,
generically so.
well, that's sort of what I'm kind of getting at is like I'm not I'm seeing like the things that you do that are out of battle that are interesting and fun and weird and stuff like that. But I don't really remember seeing very much of the meat and potatoes of this game in terms of like combat. They show a little bit of combat. It doesn't look bad. It looks cool. It looks it looks all right, But I was not particularly wowed by it. And I wasn't even thinking about this at the time. I was thinking like, okay, this looks all right. It was just only after I watched the direct that I was kind of like, yeah, but really the sword swinging and stuff like that, all the non-villagey type stuff, like that I feel like is what has to carry any kind of game like this. That's what the backbone of any kind of game like this really is. And I just don't know if I've really seen a lot of that yet.
So did you play a lot of 2 or 3, for Fable? No?
No.
So that's the thing is a big part of the game, and they showed it in this one, is the property and polygamy. Like,
Yeah.
that is kind of what made the games so unique at the time is, like, Fable 2 is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna own a bunch of property, I can be a scum lord, landlord, and jack up all the prices, bleed everyone dry. I'm gonna have, a bunch of spouses. I'm gonna take one spouse, have her co follow me to another house where there's another spouse, and then she's gonna get upset, and then I'm just gonna take her to the woods, and she's never gonna be seen or heard from again. Like the game was really twisted that way, and you're like, okay, it's like I'm gonna go for a dark, like you
Dark Run.
multiple say, I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go angelic run, I'm gonna go like demon devil run. Okay, that's that was the novelty of those games back then.
Mhm.
Very few games, at the time were doing did anything like that. I mean, BioWare would do like whether it's the Star Wars or like the early Mass Effect games would have the good and bad like Mass Effect 2 like if you became more evil you'd start to glow red, red eyes and more cracks in the skin. And if you became more Sith in the Star Wars, the old Knights of the Old Republic game, RPG, you'd have that aura around you as well, and you can use, later on, your attributes would change, force lightning if you're evil. But yeah, those were the things that kind of made these, but because they were caricatures, they were Fable was a cartoon. You're like a cartoon character. Um, you were mismatched proportions. You weren't meant to look realistic like a real person.
Yeah.
It kind of it meant it leaned into that cartoony nature and like silliness of it.
Mhm.
Um, it really is going to be put down to the writing of it all. One of the things they mention is like they've already shown in the trailer, um, the giant, which I can't remember his name now. He's the comedian from uh, IT Crowd,
Oh, okay.
and I can't remember his name now. But anyways, so apparently you can choose how to deal with him if you want to kill him or if you want to help him. And
Mhm.
if you kill him, his corpse just lies there, becomes part of the landscape, and changes property value, changes relationship to that person's sister, apparently, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's yeah, like how you react will change the world kind of bit, and they've always leaned into that to a certain extent. I think Fable 2 is still probably my favorite. Fable 1 was like, yeah, it's all right. Fable 2, I really hit my stride. I really liked Fable 2. Fable 3 felt like not quite a good Fable 2. Like, it
Yeah.
felt I just it felt there's something about it that just felt empty. Um, by that time, I think we were all burnt out by Peter Molyneux and his promises or his just overall face.
Yeah.
Um, so it's, kinda like how people feel about the, uh, Heavy Rain and such, like any of those like, Heavy Rain was, like, the last great one of them, those
Shot.
games.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Every time.
You go, Sean, I always go at the beginning with Jason. But yeah. So that's the whole thing is like after that, it kind of the mystique wore off and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that
I
so
re-
Fable, I just want Fable to be fun. Fable was kind of multiplayer too. I think it had some multiplayer aspects to it. But like I said, Fable 2 is where it hits right. I wanted to do some silly stuff. I want them bring back the Halo, the Master Chief Spartan armor.
mm,
Like I remember you were able to do. So I forgot what it was. You had some DLC or something for it, and then you found an old helmet and like sword, energy sword, and stuff like that. So it was just silly and stupid. But the combat was never great. I'm just gonna say that outright. The combat was always bare bones, attack, range, magic. That was it, and you can kind of swap or you can specialize. It was never uh particularly elegant or smooth. We're spoiled by that now because of so many great games and great combat systems. Uh, you're right, they don't show enough combat in this, but at the same time, it's still. I don't think it's coming out in the fall. I'm just gonna say that right now.
oh, you think it's even gonna get pushed?
Without, I am willing to. I'd put a wager on that for sure. Like, I think it's just not going to be ready in time. Uh, I think they're going to push it out. Uh, or if it does release on time, it's going to be very undercooked.
Yeah. Like if you're releasing in fall, you're basically competing with GTA 6 because I don't think GTA 6 is getting pushed anymore. I think this is it for them, and I think they're going to be crunching as much as they have to get that thing out. And so if they're in fall, then they better be a month ahead of GTA 6. And if they can't make that at least a month, probably 2 months, then yeah, they probably need to push to like March of next year. So yeah, it may just be like we're seeing a lot of the finished parts of the game, and they may just get to that point where it's like July, and they're like, you know what, um, it's not ready. It's just not gonna be ready by October.
The other thing is, I also don't think Halo's a good franchise to like they're to play to the old fan base
No, yeah.
because unfortunately the old fan base is now old. I mean, like it's like who's your audience you're catering towards? Because if you're doing a lot of nostalgia stuff, it doesn't make a lot of sense because a lot of those people uh are cynical as hell now, and they're like they're not going to be as forgiving.
Yeah.
Uh, it's been
Well,
it's been dormant. It's been a dead property for so long that there's not really a great like they're nostalgic for the way it used to be, not the way you're going to make it.
I mean,
You got to target a new audience for it. You got to make this. So you got to make it practical, and you got to really make it kind of conventional for the times.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not really in that community. I didn't play the Fable games. I remember how big they were. I remember I remember people at school who were playing them were like, "Dang, this is awesome! You can do all this crazy stuff." Um, you know, there's I just wonder how much nostalgia there really is for these games. How much of a clamoring, you hear everybody wants a new Mario game, a new Zelda game. Those are kind of in a different league. But even like Silent Hill and Resident Evil remakes, um, those have their own kind of nostalgia. And I just don't really think there's all that much of a clamoring for a remake for Fable. It's a nice name and it's not a bad thing to remake, but I just wonder how well it's going to translate into 2026, you know.
Yeah, your best bet is not to really, it's like they're trying. I feel like if they try to capitalize on the nostalgia, that is the wrong group to aim. I feel that anyone who's nostalgic about the old Fable games, there aren't really going to be clamoring for the new Fable game, uh, because I don't think there's enough there that really harkens back to that. It wasn't like a long running franchise. It had honestly, 2 good games.
Mhm.
Most people I think most people feel like Fable 3 was forgettable, um, but even so, like or if Fable 3 was your jam, I think it's Fable 2 is still, like,
The
the
one.
linchpin, like,
Yeah.
that is, like, the pinnacle of what they did. um, Fable 3, it was more of 2, so, I mean, maybe if you really got into 3, you're like, "Okay, 3 was really cool," but once again, after the fact, not a lot of people were really screaming for it. I feel like there was the numbers if the numbers were there, they would have made a new one, but I don't really feel that it was. And
Yeah.
so at this point in the game, they just need to make a really solid game. I mean, yes, in the Fable universe, you have some of that stuff so people remember who want to walk down memory lane. But at the same time, most of the people who have played those old games at this point in the game, at this point in their life, they're willing to wait to see the reviews. We're not pre-ordering like we used to,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I said, that's why I'll be surprised if they hit the fall like they say they're going to. You're right, they will have to if they want to try to be, uh, profitable, they're gonna have to aim for, like, early October,
Yeah.
to avoid, competing with, Grand Theft Auto. So,
Yeah.
what the key takeaway is if the writing is good and the stories are fun, because you got to get into some whimsy, there was some really neat little story arcs, and but at the same time, I really didn't care about the property. I think Fable 2, at one point you kind of find the understand the glitch behind the property, and then you just make like all the money, and then money became moot point, and you're like, all right, now that I have enough currency, I'm done. It's just so without making it. Some people, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine, how about the Life is Strange games and how they specifically they love the first game, but they hate how the fact that it becomes like this epic end of the world discussion. Like, it's kind of like Stranger Things, the end of it felt like that in the beginning of the first game. And all the other games they preferred because it was a smaller stakes experience. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, you understand though, that's how things were made back then. If you didn't ramp it up and make this big bombastic thing, they would have never sold like they did, and they would have never made sequels off of it. Um, and that's how I felt like Fable needs to be. Is Fable needs to be this, it's a product of the time, but you have to make this big epic thing. The story is you're a kid who has the power, who is a chosen hero, and your village gets turned to stone, and your grandma. So you're apparently you have no parents, or your parents are just in the picture, but they specifically said your grandma. So yeah, and so therefore you go to try to figure out this, the find the reason and fix the problem. And I'm like, all right, basic of any trope or any any starter story, I'm okay with that. That is just enough. But the proof's in the pudding. I want to see them uh make or break the game and how they want to play this out. uh if it's that old humor just doesn't mesh well with me, and I'm afraid they're gonna try to pull into that.
I mean, I think
Some
that
of the
they'll upgrade it, like that they're gonna upgrade that part. They're gonna update rather that part, and they're gonna. I mean, it'll probably be a little bit of the old humor here and there, but they're gonna have to update it just enough, and they're gonna poke fun at the other stuff as well. At the old stuff as well. So I think that'll probably go okay. But yeah, it's just a matter of whether and the people that make same people that make Forza Horizon, so they understand feel and look of a game. Um, and it's just a matter of if they can stick the landing and do it, you know, on time.
Yeah, 'cause I remember if I remember correctly, Fable had, like, a fart emote, it's just, like, that was
Oh,
the kinda humor and that was the kind of, like, mentality that had it's just, like,
yeah,
it was
it's
it
easy.
was like, "Oh, that old that English silly English humor, aren't you quaint?"
Like,
It's just like
we kind of look at the past, that era of games, kind of through rose-colored glasses, and like we remember like the Final Fantasies and I don't know the Siphon Filters or whatever, and like the Resident Evils that were kind of serious, which there was some silliness obviously in RE1, um, with the Master of Keys or the Master of what was it?
Master of Unlocking.
Master.
That game was always B rank camp, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing is people
Yeah, master of
forgot that.
unlocking. But
Yeah,
so
so
what I
yeah.
was trying to say is that like we forget that most of the games in that PlayStation 1 through the Xbox and Xbox 360, early Xbox 360 era was like the Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Duke Nukem is earlier than that, but just a step beyond Duke Nukem. We're still talking about that kind of era of games, and it's only been in the past 10, 15 years that games have gotten super serial and like we're art now kind of thing. So yeah, it just depends on how much they call back to that old era.
Yeah, once I have high. Uh, I want them to be successful because once again, it's
Yeah.
you want maybe if we're lucky, Playground Games will be able to make other awesome stuff too, and not just Force. You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, I hope that they can for sure.
but I mean the overall vibe from this developers direct, um, I felt it was kind of a letdown. Like, not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm pretty excited about Beast of Reincarnation. I think Forza is going to be Forza. We already know, but so it's a known quantity, good or bad. It's a known quantity. Um, Kiln is like cool, but not for us. And Fable is like, well, the upside is small, and the downside is big to me. Um, I think to you it's probably a little bit more even. Um, but I think I don't know, like Doom to Dark Ages from last year. I was just like, okay, another Doom game, cool. It looks exactly like the other ones, but a little bit different, you know, kind of world. But yeah, Claire Obscura was like the only one from last year. I was like, this looks really like it could be amazing, but also I just
We thought it looked good, but we also made fun of them for being super hyped about an overworld. I specifically remember us
we
both being
did,
like,
and
"Yeah,
we as well we should have, and as well we will again, um,
uh,
because that game
South
looked
American."
budget. Like I mean,
Yeah,
like people are really high on it now, but if you take yourself out of the this post um Expedition 33 perfect run of the Game of War Awards world that we live in now, and you just look at the preview material that we had, that game looked like it had a very low budget and that it was going to be swinging for the fences and it was going to be doing, punching above its weight class and all that stuff. But at the time, it was like, okay, this could be a pretty good game for the budget, and so that's what we thought then. I don't think there's a game like that in this developer direct. I don't think that because obviously that's never going to happen again. But you know, I think this developer direct is probably a little bit more normal, but to me, it's a little bit higher overall, just because you don't have an outlier, but you don't have like a low one. I don't
well,
think.
I also think that the thing is you can kind of tell where uh, Xbox is as a company because before also last year's was South of Midnight, which like I said looked like it was going to be a competent like version of Infamous or something like that.
Yeah.
My fear was the framing, them going for the artistic style, being framing was going to be annoying or something like that. In the end, we never we just didn't play it. Uh, and a lot of people were kind of hyped about Ninja Gaiden 4. And they also did the one more thing, which was like the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remake or whatever. And like that's I was never big into that. But I mean, even the previous year before that had um, Avowed, which take it or leave it, but it got a lot of hype at least. It had the Vision of Mana, which was kind of the neat Japanese segment for the show. Had the Senua Saga Hellblade 2,
Hmm.
which looked amazing and was never going to live up to the hype, but people like visually at least you're like, oh man, can't wait to see what happens from that. And then you had the Indiana Jones, the Great Circle, and like I said, I think you're correct by Xbox, the current uh direct being the most safe.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I said, I see, the way I look at it is, Fable's Fable. It's at the very least going to be um, an acceptable
Hmm.
action adventure open world game.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's the thing is an open world game now. Uh, Forza Horizon is going to be fun. Forza Horizon games don't come along as they're not at least on a regular cadence.
Right.
Uh, and so that is probably what I'm most excited for on this one.
Hmm.
Um, Beast of Reincarnation, like I said, I want it to be good. It all depends on how it plays, and then like the story. I'm hoping there's going to be a good story. Uh, I just it's kind of like a Hollow Knight thing for me. It's just the exact aesthetic about it isn't clicking with me, and because of that,
Oh, okay.
I'm just a step back. I'm like so long as it's like executed really well, and they have the thing is, I'll avoid the aesthetic if there's a good story. Hollow Knight doesn't really have a story. Um, the gameplay's there, but the art has to be. And that most Metroidvania games are bare minimum on a story.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is how well does it play and how well does it look. If those two things don't match for what I want, then I can't really do it because like it may play excellent, like Hollow Knight, but if I don't like the way it looks, then I'm just not going to play it.
Yeah.
It may look amazing, but if it plays like dirt, then I'm also not going to play it, especially if it's a Metroidvania. So, in the case, I need at least two out of the three, story, looks, you know, or gameplay.
Yeah.
If two of the three are good, then I can power through most of it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. As long as the gameplay is even if that's like gameplay is really bad, then it doesn't matter what the others are doing. It's because it's unplayable, you know.
well,
But yeah.
well, at the same time, it's like it may like a game may play simplistically.
Oh, I see what you're
For
saying.
me,
Yeah,
it's like a venture game or something like that. It's not or a walking simulator.
yeah,
Like if it looks good and has a neat story, then I can do the minimum gameplay. You know, uh, thing.
yeah.
So that's kind of the way I look at it. Is two out of the three has to hold up for me to really kind of want to go through it all.
That makes sense.
Um, and so once again, so I'm hopeful for Beast and Reincarnation. I'm not expecting much from Fable, and Forza is probably going to be the big one. I respect the hell out of Kill No, but I just once again I
No,
really
yeah,
hope that doesn't take their company for wasting money and time on a multiplayer game nowadays and age. Like I feel like any little bump in the road that makes you stumble with Microsoft now will be like, oh yeah, that's all we needed. We were looking for an excuse to cut you, and now you're now you're free to go. That's
yeah.
you heard it here first. This is the the downfall of Double Fine, or who knows? It might be the new Splatoon, and we're like, oh man, they're swimming in cash now. That's all Double Fine is kill and kill expansions.
Kiln, kill, Double Fine.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope it's a massive success. This podcast is getting kind of long in the tooth, so I'm going to run through the last. So we did have some more news, but I'm going to run through the last of it. Um, so so basically, there's a little bit of kind of shots being fired back and forth. So Michael Dowse of Larian Studios calls out Epic Games for isolating Alan Wake 2 on the Epic Games platform. Um, and Remedy kind of piped up and said that there would be no Alan Wake 2 without Epic uh, publishing the game. Um, so I, so yeah, so there's some more commentary that we could have on this, but I thought that it was at least kind of interesting. Um, yeah, so we'll probably talk about this maybe more later if it comes up again, but just sort of people kind of pointing to Epic and saying, "Hey, you guys are siloing games essentially on your platform, and that would do better if they were allowed to sell on Steam." So, yeah, we'll just
Without a doubt. I mean, if only like that, I believe that because I had a terrible time with my pre-order of
Oh yeah, you
Alan Wake
did.
2,
Yeah.
and therefore I got a refund on it, and I ended up just piggybacking off your PlayStation account, and that's how I played Alan Wake. So I actually, as big of a fan, of big of a backer as I am, I did not put my money where my mouth is. I tried to, but Epic got me so darn irritated that I'm like, you know what? I am not putting any more money into Epic Game Store for PC, and yeah. So I'm hoping one day, I'm hoping they'll release it to Steam, and then I'll buy Alan Wake 2 from that. But I refuse to buy Alan Wake 2 on the Epic Game Store for my PC.
Yeah, and that there is talk about it may be coming. Maybe it was just a rumor or something, but about it may be coming to Steam, which would be, I think it would get a big kind of re-release off of that. That'd be kind of interesting. Probably breathe some more life into the game. And I think a lot more people would actually end up playing it too. Um,
All right.
Next up, Arc Knight's Infield shuts off PayPal purchases after charging random amounts up to $3,300 worth at least. The game did just launch today here on 1/22/25. Sorry, 26. Um, and so this is a game that I actually have downloaded. And am actually, so this is a gotcha game. It's like an anime gotcha game. And I have it downloaded. I was planning to start playing it. I will go ahead and play it, but I'm going to check my PayPal account first, just in case. Um, I've had some extra activity on there that I don't really want to have. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of a sad start to the game. They did shut that off. They're telling people to make purchases through other avenues or whatever. But pretty big game. Probably expecting to sell a lot of my microtransactions. Just sad that they had to have a stumble like this on their launch.
Yeah, I played the original Arc Knight for a solid year, little over a year and a half, I think, and then I bounced.
Okay.
It wasn't enough. My polls were garbage. Their base building never grew. It was just a really bad version of the Fallout shelter game.
Mm,
Um, and but the actual game itself, the tower defense portion, was a cool concept, and I did enjoy that.
okay.
And that's kind of why I stuck around. But my polls were so bad that I just after playing it for over a year, I'm like, maybe I should quit. It took me another like 6 months, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I've never looked back. So I didn't even know this was coming out. So I'm kind of curious what the reception is about around this. But
Yeah.
is this a PC only or a console only game, or is it on mobile as well?
I'm playing it. I'm going to be playing it on my phone, but I believe because I think it's primarily first a phone game, but it does have console and I'm sure PC, versions of the game that you can play. You can download it on PS5, I'm pretty sure, and other consoles. But it seemed like a Genshin Impacty type of game, gotcha game. So I wanted to play it on the go and stuff like that. I don't know how long I'm definitely not gonna be like a year long player of this, but since it's new and it's like a phone game, I wanted to give it a try and maybe fill some time that I have to actually play some phone games.
Yeah, from all the images I look, it's yeah, like 3D running around. Looks like that you building your own tower defense and looking from it from afar. Um, I I think this is gonna if I play this, it'd be a PC game
Yeah.
because like certain games, even though they are quote unquote made for mobile, the mouse is
Well,
where
this
it's meant to
mouse
be
is
played.
usually superior in most
Yeah.
games anyway. But
All
yeah,
right. All right. Be careful. Never purchase anything from a free mobile game.
pretty
There you go.
much, man. That's isn't that the truth? Lastly, Ubisoft stock has taken a tumble after their cancellation and restructuring announcements. So this is sort of kind of calling back to a previous thing that happened a little bit earlier in the week. But yeah, so basically they canceled a bunch of. They had a big announcement about the restructuring. So they canceled a bunch of games. Canceled 6 games. One of them is the remake of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which was a gigantic game for them back in the day. And 5 other games are canceling, which some of them were named, but none of them were as big of a deal. And then, but Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still alive apparently, and it remains quote remains a priority for us. We'll see if that ever happens. And then they're delaying 7 games, but they didn't say which ones. Um, there's a whole list of studios that they're closing as well, and then there's a whole list of studios that they're turning into, I think, quote, creative houses or creative. I forget what the exact phrasing that they use, but like they're basically siloing these studios, is what it sounds like. So instead of multiple studios working on one game to like make a mega game, they're basically kind of going like, okay, this studio is going to work on this tiny game. This studio is going to work on this tiny game, and yeah, so their stock is not doing very well because I mean it's hard to tell whether or not the stock falling is a punishment for these decisions, or to me more than likely it's a, oh, this is what's really going on in there. Yeah, we're not doing, if you're having to do all this, we're not going to have faith in you as a company. That's what that
Oh,
stock falling says to me.
yeah, well, according to the VGC article, it's dropped 33%. And it's post these announcements. So yeah, there is a correlation there, but it also then follows up saying the company's share price has dropped 95% in total over the past 8 years,
Wow,
which
holy crap.
kind of tells you that yeah, there is a lot that have they have done wrong. um, so
I
they
mean,
even have a nice little graph for you to show them at their peak, and then them, so the rise and fall. Uh,
I never played Watch Dogs or Watch Dogs 2, but I kind of wanted to play Watch Dogs 2. I kind of wanted to. Besides that, there's no Ubisoft game that I've wanted to play. Like really wanted to play. Like I guess one of the Assassin's Creeds like Valkyr like or Valhalla or whatever, and maybe the Greek one. I was like, okay, that looks kind of okay, maybe, but I've never really wanted to play those, like any Ubisoft game, in a very long time, and I think that just sort of speaks to like where that's just kind of told me where they are as a company. Is I'm just like keep seeing their games pop up and being like, oh, Ubisoft game, nah. Oh, Ubisoft game, nah. Just kind of over and over again.
so I mean, as far as the Ubisoft stuff goes, the when you're looking at the range, like Watchdog 2 is kind of when they started to like to pull things together in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was a fan of the Far Cry series up until 5, and then 5 they just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
they dropped the ball. That was when shortly after the whole malicious scene in the US, and then them being like, we're going to make this out like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, kind of fit in this Americana bit, and then they always go like, "Oh yeah, no, we're not trying to be political," and then they fall back, and they changed their tune. It became really muddled, and I was just like, "All right, this is not." Uh, I'm disappointed in the way you're executing this. The story just kind of was weak. Didn't really feel that fun. Um, they tried making it quirky with their spin-off Far Cry game from that, and it was no Blood Dragon. Like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is probably still one of the greatest little mini spin-offs ever
Oh
made.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's Far Cry 3, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and Far Cry 4. Those were like the best of what I remember playing. I was not a fan of Far Cry 6. It was just too much of too little. Like it felt very tedious. And when it felt like a big giant chore, it just didn't feel good. The characters were not as memorable, even though you had what's his face from Breaking Bad, El Pollo Loco, boss.
Yeah.
Um,
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, and, like, you had someone like that, and it felt like it wasn't really utilized all that well, and I ended up just not finishing the game, like,
Yeah.
Far Cry 6, so I was that disappointed in it, but also, just as I said, it felt like it was a chore, it felt just too dang long. um, as far as the Rainbow Six stuff goes, or the Ghost Recon, Is once again like Ghost Recon Wildlands, Breakpoint were like Breakpoint wasn't as well received, but that's all like late uh 2016 post, 2020, like and then last couple of years it just have been fallen.
Hmm.
Um, so the Assassin's Creed Egypt one, what was that? Assassin's Creed, ah, crud, I can't remember the name. But anyways,
Yeah, what was on?
that one, uh, that kind of kickstarted Assassin's Creed in a way that they really needed, and it
Mhm.
was really well received. Unfortunately, when they did the Greek one, which is Odyssey, um, Odyssey was I felt a lot of people were down on that one just because that one felt a little too big, and then uh,
Yeah.
a lot of people felt that way with Valhalla as well. Valhalla was like a good game, but it was like way too
Yeah,
much.
that was when the
Uh,
complaints of like, okay, I mean, it's not the first time these complaints started, but it was when it hit a gigantic critical mass of like, okay, there's just too much stuff on the map. Like this is like an 80-hour game. Like Valhalla was like an insanely long game just to like mainline, and if you had any extra uh things that you wanted to do in it, it would just balloon to like over 100 hours. I mean, it's like I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Like it's a really really long game, and same with some of the others. It's like, yo, I kind of want to see a lot of this game, but there's no one that has time to see everything in this, and it just becomes kind of an irritation.
Origins, that was what I was looking for.
Origins,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
So, anyways, once again, so it's Ubisoft coming from the surviving the Vivendi takeover and being the scrappy guys that you wanted to root for to being this like bloated company that just doesn't seem to know what they want or how what they're doing.
Yeah,
And then unfortunately just it's kind of sad to see them fall like they have been.
yeah,
Um, because you don't they're one of the few only big players, the quote unquote AAA guys out there that are on everything.
yeah.
But
I don't really consider them AAA. I consider them like double A because like all their games are like this looks AAA, but the actual gameplay looks like uh, what they did last year with one more tick bar on the health or one more like thing to like get on some menu. It's just like, yeah, I've seen this, guys. I've seen this. What are you showing me that's like really different and like really unique and really, I mean, bold.
that's how you that's how you define the AAA to double A for yourself? I mean, like, so Call of Duty by that response is double A for you?
No, because I think Call of Duty is I don't I don't really even think of I don't know I don't even know if I really think of Call of Duty as like AAA. Like I think that they're pushing the edge of graphics, and I just don't really follow what Call of Duty is doing. But like it's like, okay, they're adding more guns, they're adding more textures. Okay, AAA, I guess. But like when I look at like Ubisoft games, I'm like, well, it's not Call of Duty level, and it's not doing anything really unique or interesting to me. It's just sort of like, okay, that's more of that kind of game again. Um, but if they had more balls in the writing, and they did, like, if they did like that Far Cry 5, where they like took a stand against whatever they wanted to take a stand against like cults in America, I don't know. And was if they were a little bit more hardline about it and bold, I would at least like respect them for that. I think they're playing to the middle so much that it just kind of is grossing everybody out.
Yeah, so I the way I consider it is the the scope and budget behind their games. That's kind of the AAA standard. Just because something, it can look really pretty doesn't mean it's AAA if the budget and the scope is small. Um that's why a lot of people look at the double A moniker. Very few companies can produce a game with such a wide demographic in mind, but unfortunately, it becomes bloated like Hollywood, and that's the difference between a Hollywood film or indie film, kind of idea as well. Just because it's a Michael Bay bombastic, nonsense doesn't mean it's good, but it does mean it's Hollywood AAA in that sense because of the budget behind it and the spectacle that it is, and the fact that it's targeted for every corner of the earth that can possibly have it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I look at Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft now does they're just like I said, they're structured and their priorities are so messed up where they'll close a team that does a great Prince of Persia game, and then they'll make something like the new Assassin's Creed Shadows and completely get mixed up behind the marketing, uh, fumble the games, make their own blunder of Skull and Bones, and it's like people are still hoping that the Black Flag remake is coming out, but at that time, now I think the nostalgia for Creed Black Flag is higher than the nostalgia for, or more profitable than the nostalgia behind a Fable remake.
Mm.
That's honestly because I think it's people can still remember uh people who are willing to play a remake like that are young enough and it's been close enough to it opposed to like a whole two generations back for Fable or whatever now. uh you know s- I think that, and then of course Ubisoft making games that don't sell, just straight up a bunch of multiplayer stuff. I mean, they were that team that was like, "Oh, you made a game that was like half baked, but you're sticking to it and you're constantly going to reiterate and fix it until it's done right." And like they kind of look at like
Eh,
Rainbow Six,
I,
there was a handful of games that did that and they
okay,
did
yeah, I
it
guess
well.
so.
They stuck with it. Um and that's like, hey, good on you for continuing to back it. But then, like I said, the last handful of years has just been garbage for Ubisoft all around.
Yeah,
So
I mean they definitely have some winners, and they have some stuff from back in the day that really put them on the map and stuff. But in the past 10 years or so, they have just made kind of half baked gray matter after half baked gray matter, and iterated on you know that stuff kind of over and over again, and it's just like nobody really wants, like, nobody really knows what you're trying to say, because it's like Call of Duty. It's like we're trying to we're trying to make a really high octane like action game, and we're not really trying to like make a political stance or something. We're just making army men that like shoot things. And Ubisoft is like, we're trying to do that, but we're also kind of trying to make a story that has a statement, but we're gonna like pull the punch at the very end so that we don't like end up on any wrong side of the fence. And I just that's the way that I see them. Like I think that's the way the most recent Assassin's Creed has kind of come off. And like famously, most recently, that one shareholder um, seemingly bought shares so that they could be in that meeting and kind of hold the executives' feet to the fire. And I'm kind of glad they did, because I don't really agree with everything they said, but the idea, the sentiment there of like you guys are sort of pandering is the word. It's like don't pander. Make what you want to make and sell and pick an audience and sell that to that audience. Don't try to sell it to literally everybody, because I know that people want to do that, but like that's incredibly hard to do, and you don't really have the pedigree or the money or the scope or the people to be able to do that. Like you just don't. So like pick an audience and sell to them, and just pick a lane more or less. I think that's what they need to do.
yeah, unfortunately, because they're so international, I think their priorities and their hierarchy isn't. So by siloing off teams, making teams like if they I think that'll actually work for their benefit if they can different teams, and then you can finally have a situation where, hey, we're getting quality games from this particular studio, and you can start figuring out for yourself, being like, hey, it's almost it's almost like the Call of Duty games or like any other major publisher where like has multiple studios. Like, okay, this is coming from the Montreal team. This is coming from the European side or something like that. This is the American team. Like, okay, got it. We know what studio does what, and hey, it turns out maybe that we can identify the B tier team sooner. Like if we knew which games Platinum was making early on, from who was making the Platinum games, if they had them as different teams, you'd be like, "Ooh, yeah, okay, you're gonna make that game. Safe pass. We're gonna wait for that other one." And that's so I'm hoping that maybe we'll get a better quality turnout because plus if you ever well you haven't since you haven't played a lot of Ubisoft games anytime recently, but even back then the laundry list of credits is just astronomical. I think they're probably like the worst for having the longest scroll time of any credits.
Yeah.
um just because they have so many teams around the world that it's just like, all right, everyone had to touch it just a little bit and do their little tweaks, and it's just like, yeah, that can't be the most efficient way to do that, is it?
Yeah, 100%. It just can't be. It can't be that. Yeah, so it's yeah, it's a problem. And I think their leadership probably just is not the most competent. And it's probably just it just seems like a corporation that is kind of suffocating under its own weight, essentially.
Yeah. All right. About suffocating under its own weight. We are really long today, and goodness gracious, was not expecting this to go this insanely long. So if you made it to the end, we appreciate it and thank you. Uh, but we are apologizing now because we really did not mean for this to go this long. But Nick, uh, why don't you give the people some words of advice for the winter?
Um, you want to make sure that during an ice storm, during freezing temperatures, that you open your cupboards so that the heat from your house can keep your pipes warm. Also, make sure to leave a slight drip as well so that your pipes do not freeze.
Yeah, if you're in a place that it has poor insulation for sure, absolutely. And if you're in one of those southern states that happens to have your water heater in your attic, like uh God help you. I understand the concept behind that. It makes it cheaper to heat your water in the summer. But if those pipes break, you're raining inside your place. Um, always my recommendation is also always have like canned goods, just a flat of like canned corn, beans, or something, a set can of spam, something, and a little Bunsen burner or some sort of camping burner, portable stove. Worst case scenario, you are good when the power is out, and just keep some batteries and some flashlights. Having been through a number of storms myself, and also Christmas cooking spam by candlelight. Uh, don't Not a recommended thing to do. It tastes of wax. Uh,
No, no.
but all right, guys. This has been ADP. Uh, we appreciate it, and until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.